Hanfei immediately said, Senior Brother Azure Dragon, I'll be there in 100 years. Okay, I'll wait for you. At this moment, Senior Brother 6 God appeared on the mountain next to Han Fei and said, Little Junior Brother, your human race needs to be careful. You destroyed the heaven-concealing divine race. Although the Central Sea Divine Realm doesn't dare to attack rashly for the time being, there will definitely be harassment. Many insects in the Sky Spiderworm Valley tried to secretly enter the East Sea Divine Realm, but I blocked them. That's fine, but there are actually many strong masters of the heaven-concealing divine race outside. Be careful of them lurking into the human race. Han Fei said, Thank you for reminding me, Senior Brother 6 God. I'll tend to it. Soon, Senior Brother Undead, Senior Sister Dark Shadow, and 5th Senior Brother arrived one after another. Everyone greeted each other and listened to Senior Sister Shenli's lecture. One day later, Han Fei felt that his killing intent was overwhelming, and his understanding of the Tao of Slaughter God was even better. Senior Sister Shenli said, Alright, there are no big secrets in the sea realm and the Sea of Stars now. Let's talk about our recent situation. Azure Dragon, when are you going to make a breakthrough? Senior Brother Azure Dragon hovered in the sky and replied, I still need to prepare for more than 200 years. After completing the entire breakthrough process, I will probably sleep for hundreds of years, so I won't appear for the next hundreds of years. Senior Sister Shenli nodded. What about old 5? 5th Senior Brother said, I just need to make a breakthrough within 1,000 years. Senior Sister, don't push me too much. Shenli snorted. If I don't push you, you'll just drink and sleep every day. Little Junior Brother, what do you have to say? Me? Han Fei was stunned for a moment and immediately realized that Senior Sister Shenli must be reminding him. Han Fei immediately said, 5th Senior Brother, I occasionally have a jar of peerless wine in the ferocious God Valley. I've already tasted it with my own mouth. It's unparalleled. Let me give it to you. No, I don't want it. I don't want it. Why did you all betray me after going to the ferocious God Valley? Little Junior Brother, don't forget I'm your dear Senior Brother. 5th Senior Brother hurriedly refused, shaking his head like a rattle drum. Han Fei said solemnly, 5th Senior Brother, I don't want to get involved in the matter between you and Senior Yu Linka. However, Senior Yu has helped me after all. She asked me to do such a small thing. How can I mess it up? 5th Senior Brother picked up the wine calabash and took a few sips. Then, he said, She helped you, so you want to push your Senior Brother into mountains of knives and seas of fire? Han Fei rolled his eyes. 5th Senior Brother, it's just a jar of wine. You don't have to go through mountains of knives and seas of fire. Besides, Senior, you said that this is the last jar of wine she will give you in this life. There won't be another time. In this life? Senior Brother Azure Dragon emphasized the word and pretended to be deep in thought. Senior Brother 6 God said, Little Junior Brother, have the divine descendants been forced to this point? Even Senior Yu is determined to die? Senior Brother 6 God instantly understood what he meant, and he sounded a little stunned. Lei Hing hurriedly asked, Little Junior Brother, did something happen in the ferocious God Valley? Alas. 5th Senior Brother said with a buzz, Little Junior Brother, stop acting. Who do you put this show for? Han Fei said solemnly, 5th Senior Brother, I know that Senior Brother Azure Dragon, senior brother 6 God, and senior brother Lei Hang have all given you this jar of wine. However, this time, senior, you did say that this wine is like a tribulation that must be transcended. Fifth senior brother, you planted a tribulation for her and tortured her for hundreds of thousands of years. How long do you still want to torture her? Accept this jar of wine. You don't have to drink it. But at least, let each other go. Gulp, gulp. Everyone looked at fifth senior brother, and Green Lotus, Red Lotus, and Feng. You were the most excited, although Feng, you didn't seem to know anything. Fifth senior brother drank crazily for a moment, and everyone waited for a moment. When fifth senior brother was about to speak, senior brother Undead, who had always been taciturn and easygoing, suddenly spoke. His voice was like a bell, his aura was like a dragon, and his divine voice was resounding. It was like a heavy hammer, striking everyone's heart. Let go. His voice was deafening. Hanfei didn't know how others felt, but he suddenly felt that his mind was clear, which was an unprecedented clarity. Hanfei suddenly had a strange feeling. He seemed to be a little lost. He came from the human race, from a small fishing village, to this huge sea realm, carrying the rise and fall of an entire race and the expectations of billions of human beings. Why did he help the descendants of gods? Why did he come to the ferocious god valley? Why did he resist the central sea divine realm? This was because the human race had to rise. He had to wipe out all the obstacles in front of him. This was because he had to let go of the human race. Only by letting it go could his true self return. At that moment, Hanfei seemed to comprehend. He seemed to see a peak that he could reach easily, which was to let go. At this moment, everyone fell silent. After a long time, fifth senior brother seemed to come back to his senses in advance. For the first time, Hanfei saw fifth senior brother look so serious. He bowed deeply to senior brother Undead. Thank you for your teaching, third senior brother. With that, fifth senior brother's temperament seemed to have changed. He turned around, no longer as slovenly as before, and held his head high. Covered by the void mist, he stood on the top of the mountain, his clothes fluttering in the wind. Fifth senior brother said loud and clear, little junior brother, bring me the wine. This was the first time senior brother Undead had taken action. Hearing his let go, everyone, including Hanfei, fell into some kind of deep thought and comprehension. Hanfei came back to himself and quickly threw looking back to fifth senior brother through the void mist, fearing that he would go back on his word. Anyway, he had given him the wine. As for whether he drank it or not, it was none of his business. Now, Hanfei was even more curious. If senior brother Undead could remind fifth senior brother, why didn't he do this before? Or rather, this kind of reminder also required some kind of opportunity? However, before Hanfei could think further, senior sister Shenlu continued. Green Lotus, how are you doing now? Green Lotus said, Senior sister Shenlu, we've entered the sea of bitterness. Then, Green Lotus looked at Hanfei. I have to thank little junior brother for the technique he gave me. If nothing goes wrong, we might be able to leave the sea of bitterness in 3,000 years. Shenlu pondered for a moment. The sea of bitterness is boundless. You were born extraordinary. It's not a bad choice to go to the sea of bitterness. Hanfei was about to ask where the sea of bitterness was, when Fengyu said, What is the sea of bitterness? Why have I never heard of it? Senior sister Shenlu didn't hide anything but replied directly, the sea of bitterness is a forbidden sea, where infinite troubles and hardships in the world gather. The sea of bitterness is not in reality, but an illusion. Han Fei thought to himself, this world is magical. There is actually such a place. Senior sister Shenle asked senior brother Six God and senior brother Lei Hung, and the two of them replied the same. They both said that they would make a breakthrough after the situation in the sea realm stabilized. As for Feng Yu, Han Fei didn't know that she had already gone to the front line battlefield and became one of the top 10 heavenly talents. When it was his turn, Han Fei pondered for a moment and said, Senior sister Shenlu, at present, I'm trying to break the records of the primordial tower in the ferocious God Valley. I have to break at least one record so that I can barely resist the Central Sea Divine Realm. In short, I'll finish this job as soon as possible. It seemed that since senior sister Shenlu took over the Void Temple, the gathering had become a work reporting meeting. It seemed that senior sister Shenlu was very anxious. After everyone was done reporting, senior sister Shenlu said, all right, you can communicate on your own now. However, since they had basically finished talking, there seemed to be nothing else to talk about. They chatted for a while and then left respectively. Everything seemed to be in a hurry, but Han Fei was in a good mood. At least, he had given the wine to fifth senior brother and finished the task Yulinka assigned to him. As soon as he returned, Han Fei found Yulinka. Seeing the smile on Han Fei's face, the latter's eyes flickered. Have you given the wine to him? Han Fei chuckled. Fortunately, I didn't disappoint you. Under my sharp words and half a day of persuasion, fifth senior brother finally accepted the looking back wine. However, I don't know if he will drink it or when he will drink it. A rare brilliant smile appeared on Yulinka's face, which made her look gorgeous. It's not up to him whether to drink it or not. As long as it's in his hands, he will definitely drink it. Huff. Han Fei, thank you. Han Fei waved his hand. Sister-in-law, you're too polite. I just hope that all lovers in the world can be together. Hee hee. Then you have to work hard. Don't fall in front of the ominous. Otherwise, no lovers can be together in the end. Yulinka's tone was relaxed and even a little cheerful. She said, sit down. I'll make you 2 dishes. Han Fei thought to himself, really? But when he turned around, he found that Chu Hao was not around again. He couldn't help but ask, did he go shopping again? Yulinka, no, he went to the ominous battlefield. He must have been stimulated. Stimulated? He's so old. What can stimulate him? Yulinka chuckled. Don't you know what stimulated him? This guy got the demon purification pot too. If it weren't for his bad luck, it could have been him sitting in your place today. Han Fei shrugged. Is it my fault? In his origin star, Han Fei cultivated in seclusion for about a year when he suddenly felt the creation divine prison shaking. Done? When Han Fei entered the 2nd floor of the creation divine prison, a strange blood bottle appeared in front of Qiu Wanren. Senior, what is this? Qiu Wanren grinned and said, this is a sealing blood bottle refined from the essence blood of Bailey Qingfeng. This bottle can absorb the bloodline of the heaven-concealing divine race, just like when the bloodline of the divine descendants was stripped away. You can strip their bloodline inheritance now. Han Fei's heart stirred. This bloodline power can only be sealed but not Destroyed? Wanren said, no. The so-called bloodline is a kind of creation by the world after all. Everything in this world follows the law of conservation. If you destroy this bloodline today, this inherited bloodline will definitely appear again by some chance in the future. Besides, do you think this blood bottle is used to draw blood? No, this is used to extract the divine heritage of this race and snatch the heavenly blessings of this race. Otherwise, there are still countless people of the heaven-concealing divine race scattered outside. After a long time of recuperation, wouldn't another heavenly hidden divine race appear? Oh? Deprive a race of their heavenly blessings? Wanren said, after you become a god, I can try to teach you. Now, take this. Anyway, the entire heaven-concealing divine race is in your hands. When the number of people of the heaven-concealing divine race whose divine heritage has been stripped reaches a certain number, it will shake the foundation of this race, which is their destiny bloodline inheritance. Once this inheritance is shaken, whether it's the gods of the heaven-concealing divine race far away in the sea of stars or the unborn babies in the bellies of the people of the heaven-concealing divine race, they will never be able to inherit this bloodline again. Hanfei immediately grabbed the blood bottle and put on a smile. Suddenly, Hanfei seemed to think of something and said, Senior, do you think the destiny bloodline of the ancient 6 lineages can be stripped? Wanren looked at Hanfei speechlessly. Do you know how many people, branches, and inheritances the ancient 6 lineages have in this world? I said if your strength reaches the peak of this sea of stars, it's not impossible for you to surpass all races and the ancient 6 lineages. The premise is that you have to be so strong. Another moment later, Hanfei returned to his origin star. Here, there were billions of people from the heaven-concealing divine race. They had no food to eat or no chance to flee. This was Hanfei's origin star. In the first place, before their strength far exceeded Hanfei's, they were like fish on a chopping board, unable to resist at all. When Hanfei was stripping their bloodline with the blood bottle, red light surged out of the bodies of these billions of people, which really frightened them. Everyone was uneasy. However, after several days, they didn't feel anything wrong and were slightly relieved. However, these people didn't know that their bloodline inheritance had been stripped away. The countless people of the heavenly hidden divine race who hadn't awakened their innate talent had no chance to awaken it again in their lives. However, in the sea of stars, the god-level powerhouses of the heaven concealing divine race and even the great monarchs all felt the change in their bloodlines. They felt the abnormality of their bloodlines, and the inheritance power from their bloodlines seemed to be fading. On the other side of the chaotic sea, in an extremely magnificent giant starry city, the gods of the heaven-concealing divine race found the sea-quelling god guarding this place. There was not just one sea-quelling god here, but 3, including the phoenix god. Return to the sea realm? Hearing the requests of the gods of the heaven-concealing divine race, the phoenix god snorted coldly. Now is the time of war. If we allow you to return to the sea realm, should I let the others go back too? A god of the heaven-concealing divine race said with an ugly expression. However, the foundation of our heaven-concealing divine race has been removed, our bloodline inheritance has been stripped, and our entire race has been abducted by Hanfei. How can we fight in peace? 1. The phoenix god said indifferently, everything has cause and effect. If your heavenly hidden divine race hadn't done anything, who would have uprooted the foundation of your heavenly hidden divine race? Besides, the situation in the sea realm will be reset. Don't you know that? Didn't you guys reach a tacit understanding long ago? Now that something has happened and you want to go back, why? Do you want to die? At this time, another sea-quelling god said, the old phoenix is right. Since he dares to touch your heavenly hidden divine race, he is naturally not afraid of your return. Now it seems to be the competition between the central sea divine realm and the divine descendants, but in fact, it's a competition among the 6 ancient lineages. If you go back and don't follow the rules, no one will follow the rules with you either. To put it bluntly, you'll only be killed easily. Immediately, the gods of the heaven-concealing divine race were shocked, but their leader still braced himself and said, then are we just going to let it go? The phoenix god said leisurely, the tables have turned. It's true that the heavenly hidden divine race was destroyed by human Emperor Han Fei, but he wouldn't kill the juniors and ordinary people of your race. As for removing the bloodline of your heavenly hidden divine race, haven't the bloodlines of the divine descendants also been severed since the age of gods? But have the divine descendants been destroyed? The rise and fall of races is fated. No clan can enjoy a golden age all the time. If you lose, you have to admit it. At least, stripping away the bloodline inheritance will only make your descendants no longer enjoy the bloodline inheritance, and you yourselves won't be affected. The gods of the heavenly hidden divine race didn't say anything. They knew that there was someone behind the competition of the sea realm, and they no longer had any say. After the gods of the heavenly hidden divine race left, the third sea-quelling god suddenly said, Old Phoenix, everyone has their own selfish motives. There's no need to blame them too much. However, the premise of everything is that the human race doesn't go too far. If the human race returns to its former glory and suppresses the other 5 lineages, there must be someone coming out to stop it. After all, there are not only the heavenly hidden divine race in the central sea divine realm, but many forces. If they are all wiped out, I'm afraid before the ominous battle officially begins, the myriad races will be already completely in chaos. The phoenix god snorted coldly. Is declining but staying alive or all races dying together better? When the time comes, you'll see. Without the 3 temples, the sea of stars would have long disappeared. How could there be the sea realm? So, at this point, we can only mind our own business. Let the others be. What do you think? Ferocious God Valley. 3 years had passed, and the Rock Dragon auction house had held many auctions in a row recently and had gained a lot. This time, when Han Fei came out of his origin star, he saw Xia Xiaochan and the other 2 sitting at the dining table, drinking with Chu Hao. Ah. You're out? Xia Xiaochan rushed over, hung on Han Fei, and gave him a big hug. Xia Xiaochan said, have you gone back and seen Yi? Holding Xia Xiaochan in his arms, Han Fei grinned and said, not yet. The East Sea Divine Realm is quite peaceful. Let her live a peaceful life for now. When the Central Sea Divine Realm is pacified, we'll go back together. After Han Fei took a seat, he asked curiously, why are you all here? Lu Renquang said, I'm going to your origin star, to cultivate. Zhang Xuanyu said, I heard that you've conquered the entire heaven-concealing divine race. This super auction is going to start in a few days. How can we miss such a big scene? Xiao Xiaochan said, I miss you. You disappeared for more than 300 years. But you became a great monarch so quickly? How did you stack laws? Zhang Xuanyu said, I'm curious too. I just learned about law stacking. How long will it take to stack hundreds or thousands of laws? Chu Hao interjected, there are many ways to stack laws. However, if you want to stack laws quickly, either there are countless strong masters supplying you with the power of laws, or you're slowly collecting the laws in the void. Or, just like some big clans, they have already prepared some laws for their juniors. It's very common for ordinary people to stack laws for 100,000 years. If it weren't for the law stacking, with many people's talent, they might have reached the great monarch realm long ago. As he spoke, Chu Hao looked at Han Fei. What is abnormal is someone like him killing people like flies and using the power of laws contained in the corpses of the strong to quickly stack laws. However, this kind of path is not for ordinary people. Even if you are very strong, there are only this many strong masters in this world. How can there be so many strong masters for you to kill? Han Fei stuffed a mouthful of fish into his mouth, thinking that he'd better not tell Chu Hao the secret of the path of reincarnation. Otherwise, if this guy knew that he had stacked 100,000 laws in just a few years, he might not be able to withstand this blow. However, when Xiao Xiaochan mentioned law stacking, Han Fei immediately had some thoughts. Since the path of reincarnation was his, and he could quickly stack laws in the river, it shouldn't be a problem for him to take a few people over, right? After having this idea, Han Fei thought that he could give it a try. It was impossible for him to use the path of reincarnation to help too many people. But if it was just Xiao Xiaochan and the others, there was no reason for him not to help them. After all, they were also very talented. Under his terrifying growth speed, they could still catch up, which already explained something. Han Fei said, I'll talk to you about law stacking later. Since you're all out, don't go to the primordial tower for the next few days. Let's wait until the auction completes. Half a month later. The Rock Dragon auction house had been overcrowded these past few days. All the private rooms and halls had been reserved. Even the seats in the hall had basically been reserved. Many people were not even here to watch the auction. They just wanted to see the miserable end of the heaven-concealing divine race. On this day, it was the 3-year period, including Yu Linka, Han Fei, and the others came to the Rock Dragon auction house. Li Yan took Long Yan to guard the 3 spears. There were too many people here today. If someone broke this seal and released these people, the ferocious God Valley would be in chaos. Of course, this possibility was extremely small, but it didn't mean it wasn't. It wasn't until Han Fei arrived that Li Yan breathed a sigh of relief and hurriedly greeted him. Master Human Emperor, you're finally here. Han Fei nodded with a smile and reached out to grab. Only then were the layers of sealing barriers unlocked. The monarchs who were stabbed into the spears looked ashen under their masks. In the end, no one came to save them. They couldn't escape the fate of being sold. This would become the shame of their lives. After sealing these people one by one, Han Fei shouted, Everyone, I am human. Emperor Han Fei. Sorry to keep you waiting. I announce that the auction will begin in a moment. Roar, roar, roar. Countless people shouted, but Han Fei pretended not to hear them. They were personally led into the Rock Dragon auction house by Li Yan and Long Yan. It wasn't until Li Yan sent them to their exclusive private room that he said to Han Fei in a low voice, "Master Human Emperor, I'm afraid many people from the Central Sea Divine Realm will participate in this auction. Although the West Wilderness hates the Central Sea Divine Realm, we won't reject their money, so we can't expel them. What do you think?" Han Fei smiled casually. "It doesn't matter. As long as they are willing to pay, just let them buy." Okay. Li Yan thought to himself, since Han Fei had said so, he must be prepared. Otherwise, if the heavenly hidden divine race that he had persecuted were bought by the Central Sea Divine Realm and tried their best to sneak into the East Sea Divine Realm and attack the human race, Han Fei would have shot himself in the foot. Seeing that Han Fei didn't care, Li Yan said, "Master Human Emperor, you still have a lot of sky openers and sea establishers of the heaven-concealing divine race, right?" Han Fei said, "Of course. There are more than 500,000 sky openers, not to mention sea establishers." Li Yan looked troubled. He said, "Master Human Emperor, the sky openers are fine, because there are many people coming this time and they can afford it. But below that realm, we might have to auction them as a whole." Han Fei nodded. "It doesn't matter. Go about your business. Sell the monarchs first. As for the sky openers, let's talk about it later." After Li Yan left, even Chu Hao said, "Aren't you afraid that the heavenly hidden divine race will target your human race?" Han Fei shook his head slightly. "First of all, it's not easy to sneak into the East Sea Divine Realm at this moment. Besides, there are many strong masters in the infinite mining area. Not everyone can sneak in. The heaven concealing divine technique is not omnipotent." Han Fei had mastered the ultimate knack of the heaven-concealing divine technique. The heaven-concealing divine race, which had no god and might only have one great monarch left, would only be courting death if they sneaked into the human race. Yulinka was not worried either. She said, "When the bloodline of the divine descendants revives, the Central Sea Divine Realm will decline. At that time, they will become prisoners, let alone the people of the heavenly hidden divine race. Now, if there are people from the Central Sea Divine Realm participating in the auction, there is only one purpose, which is to use them as cannon fodder." Han Fei said, "Then the cannon fodder is very valuable. I'm afraid they will feel the pinch." "You're wrong," Yulinka said, "the Central Sea Divine Realm is full of rich people. They don't care about a million refined stars. However, they might not buy anyone below the monarch level, because they are of no use." Han Fei said, "Who cares? Let's just see." After a while, the auction house was overcrowded. Li Yan went on stage, sweating profusely. It could only be he who hosted such a big scene. Li Yan said, "Everyone, I'm sure you've been looking forward to today's auction for a long time. There's only one kind of auction item in this auction, which is the strong masters of the heaven-concealing divine race in the Central Sea Divine Realm. Everyone knows the number of the monarchs for auction. In the past 3 years, you may have got some information and already know some of them. So now, let's start auctioning. Old Li, will you start from the monarch realm? Won't you sell sky openers?" Li Yan looked at the private room where Han Fei was with a smile and then said, "After the monarchs are sold, Human Emperor Han Fei may come down in person. There's no rush." Upon hearing this, everyone stopped asking. In fact, many people had their eyes on the sky openers. In the sea realm, the sky openers were actually the pillars of the major forces. This group of people was much more valuable than they seemed. That's fine. I'm afraid we'll have to compete for them. We've been waiting for this day for 3 years. Let's start quickly. Guests from the Central Sea Divine Realm, be careful with your bids. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to walk out of the ferocious God Valley. A big bandit suddenly said, making the field instantly quieten down. Although the West Wilderness didn't like the people from the Central Sea Divine Realm, most of the strong masters from the Central Sea Divine Realm who could come to the ferocious God Valley were rich and powerful, and they were here to consume. After all, they were rich people, so the people of the West Wilderness wouldn't kill the goose that laid the golden eggs. Besides, under normal circumstances, killing was forbidden in the ferocious God Valley. Therefore, the people from the Central Sea Divine Realm were relatively safe in the ferocious God Valley, but it was hard to say after leaving the ferocious God Valley. Of course, at Han Fei's level, it was not easy to control. For example, when Han Fei attacked last time, the bandit god didn't do anything. Not only did he not do anything, but he also helped him. This time, it was not just the people from the Central Sea Divine Realm. As the core of the West Wilderness, the ferocious God Valley had long had strong masters from the 4 divine realms stationed here. Furthermore, there were some vassal stars around their origin stars, making it convenient for them to communicate with their own people. Therefore, the bidder this time could be anyone. In a place surrounded by bandits, it was uncertain who could take these people away. Li Yan hurriedly eased the atmosphere and shouted, I know you're anxious, so I won't dawdle. Come, let's directly put the items on auction. There are 19 Dao Proving level monarchs, 27 Carefree level monarchs, and 12 Immortal level monarchs in this auction. We'll introduce them one by one from the Dao Proving level onwards. The first item is a female monarch at the Dao Proving level of the Heaven Concealing Divine Race. In the private room, Han Fei saw the female monarch who had been pushed up. She had already changed her clothes. Her luxurious clothes outlined her curvy body, and the red gown she was wearing had a high slit, revealing her slender and fair thighs. Dewdrops glistened on her fair arms, shining brilliantly under the spotlight. Bah! What auction house did you find? It's simply vulgar. Xiao Xiaochan couldn't help but spit and blush. Long Yan hid behind everyone, not daring to speak. This woman was so casual too. The human emperor. It was obvious that she was not a simple person. Zhang Xuanyu said lazily, don't make a fuss. Do you really think these female monarchs will all be sent to the arena for fighting? The Heaven Concealing Divine Race is a divine race after all. Many people want to use them as furnaces. Also, don't forget that the 1,000 hidden divine race can transform into anything. They can transform into a different thing every night. Hey, stop. Pfft. Zhang Xuanyu was pierced by a knife and grimaced in pain. Xiao Xiaochan held another dagger and said, say that again and I'll turn you into a woman. Zhang Xuanyu said, okay, I stop, alright? Han Fei, take care of your woman. She's killing me. When Li Yan shouted the starting price of 200 refined stars, the audience immediately went crazy. This was because the gap between the Dao Proving level and the Carefree level was actually not large. To put it bluntly, 2,000 refined stars wouldn't be enough to nurture a carefree level cultivator. Therefore, in the previous auction, Hanfei sold the 2 carefree level cultivators for 3,800 refined stars. The starting price of 200 was very low, but there were too many people. 300, 500, 600. This price was quickly raised to 1,200 refined stars. Even Hanfei was a little surprised. So high? Yulinka said, in a sense, Zhang Xuanyu is actually right. Didn't you almost become the son-in-law of the Phoenix divine race? Hanfei hurriedly said, it's fake. Yulinka said, whether it's fake or not, you should have experienced it. Many strong masters don't casually have children. Why is it that as soon as the talented girls of the major forces reach the perfected star transformation realm or the Tao proving level, there is an endless stream of people proposing marriage to them? It's for their bloodline and talent. Therefore, these itinerant cultivators and small forces will compete for a female cultivator, even if they have to pay a high price. Of course, they are not stupid. They have a clear goal. Hanfei and the other two were dumbfounded. So, most people really bought monarchs back to give birth to children for them? On this side, a small force said, 1,500 refined stars. Everyone, this price is already high enough. There's no need for you to compete with me anymore. Someone sneered. 1,600, there are a total of 19 people at the Tao proving level, and only 11 of them are men. How can we not compete? 1,700, you're right. Anyone outbid me? At this moment, an itinerant cultivator suddenly said, 2,000 refined stars. Everyone looked at the source of the voice, only to see a burly bandit whose face was flushed red. He seemed to have paid a heavy price. Brother, you're crazy. This price is too high. The bandit snorted. You're wasting time. This price has exceeded the price of the peak of the carefree level. If anyone else bids, I will quit. Li Yan hurriedly said, 2,000 once, 2,000 twice. Is there anyone else bidding? 2,000. 2,500 refined stars. At this moment, a woman's voice came from a private room. Hearing this, everyone looked up. A woman in white, with a pink waist belt and collar, and a pleated dress, appeared in front of everyone, at the front of the private room. Immediately, someone shouted, F*CK, they're from the divine demon forest. Someone cursed, are you crazy? Are you here to cause trouble? Someone threatened, divine demon forest, I'm afraid you won't be able to take her away even if you have the money. A bandit opened the curtain of his room. The boss didn't show up, but let a carefree level cultivator come out to bid. The divine demon forest is getting more and more arrogant. As soon as the divine demon forest's people appeared, it immediately attracted criticism from all directions. Although they wouldn't attack their sponsors, it didn't mean that they would treat them kindly. The audience was in chaos, and the crowd's words were sharp. In the next moment, in another private room, someone said, this first bid can only belong to the West Wilderness. Our savage bandits offer 3,000 refined stars. Savage bandits? Many people were relieved, and some were in a good mood. The top 3 bandits have finally taken action. Humph, they want to compete with the strong masters of the West Wilderness as soon as they appear. Are they out of their minds? Someone looked at the woman in white proudly, the provocation in his eyes self-evident. He thought to himself, come and compete if you have the ability. For an auction, it was acceptable to create a lively atmosphere, but it should never escalate into a disturbance or turn into a commotion. Therefore, Li Yan shouted crazily, 3,000 pieces. Can anyone bid higher than this price? If not, 3,000 once, 3,000 twice. Deal. Li Yan spoke very quickly. After all, he was from the West Wilderness. He didn't want this first bid to be taken by the Central Sea Divine Realm. The woman in white opposite him didn't say a word and retreated into the private room. Hush. Go back. Don't disgrace yourself if you don't have money. Heh, I thought you were very capable. That's all you've got. Come to the ferocious God Valley. Even if you're a dragon, you'll have to lie low. The crowd was still excited, but in Han Fei's private room, Han Fei, Lu Renquang, Zhang Xuanyu, and Xia Xiaochan looked at each other with unknown meaning in their eyes. Han Fei said, Long Yan. Yes, Master Human Emperor, I'm here. Han Fei pointed at the private room of the woman in white and asked, which room is that? Long Yan immediately said, Master Human Emperor, that's room A number 3. It was reserved a long time ago. It's indeed a sponsor from the Divine Demon Forest. Han Fei asked, do you know who is inside? For example, are there any great monarchs? How many are there? Well, I don't know. However, most of the strong masters in the Central Sea Divine Realm are afraid of the ferocious God Valley. Under normal circumstances, not many strong masters will come. And the transfer of resources is mainly from their origin stars. Few of them dare to go out directly from the ferocious God Valley. Han Fei asked, so you think there might not be many strong masters on the other side? Long Yan didn't know what Han Fei was going to do, but the Rock Dragon auction house became popular because of Han Fei. She had to answer Han Fei's questions. Long Yan said, I personally think so, but I can't be sure. Chu Hao asked, what are you going to do? Han Fei smiled. It's nothing serious. Buzz. Although he said that it was nothing serious, in the next second, Han Fei disappeared from the spot. But even Yulinka couldn't find where Han Fei went. But in the next second, Han Fei's voice came from the private room. He said, Long Yan, take the best spiritual fruits and tea from the Rock Dragon auction house to room A number 3 in person. As for the reason, just say that it's to express your apology. Huh. Long Yan was dumbfounded. She looked around but didn't find anything. Xia Xiaochan said, do you need us to help? Han Fei replied, there's no need, in case someone says that the ferocious god Valley broke the rule of not killing sponsors. Yulinka was puzzled. Are you going to kill the sponsor from the Divine Demon Forest? Han Fei said, no, let me take a look first. Long Yan, let's go. Long Yan couldn't have felt worse. These people were really bold. Today's Rock Dragon auction house was overcrowded, but they still wanted to kill the sponsors from the Divine Demon Forest. This was simply crazy. It wasn't until Long Yan calmed down and turned to leave the private room that Yulinka said, is there something wrong with the carefree level woman just now? Xia Xiaochan smiled. Senior Yu, that's one of us. Chu Hao suddenly thought of something and couldn't help but ask, that dress. Is the girl just now Luo Xiaobai? That dress had only appeared once. It was made by Han Fei after Luo Xiaobai returned to the chaotic wasteland and saw through Han Fei's identity. Chu Hao didn't take it seriously at all, so he didn't pay much attention to it. However, Han Fei and Xia Xiaochan were too familiar with that dress. The style of the clothes was created by Han Fei when they were young. Although it was no longer competitive in the sea realm and was just a very ordinary dress, it was impossible for them not to recognize it. Therefore, the moment Luo Xiaobai appeared, they all knew that Luo Xiaobai was here. At this moment, they were overjoyed. They didn't expect their team to finally be complete under such circumstances. In room A number 3, Luo Xiaobai was standing respectfully in front of a great monarch. The great monarch said, "Is this your so-called test? You just came back so dejectedly?" Luo Xiaobai replied respectfully, "My lord, please give me 3 chances. Before the 4th bid, I will give you a surprise." "Oh? Then I'd like to see what ability you have to give me a surprise under such circumstances. Let me make it clear that if you screw up today, you won't be able to return to the divine demon forest." The 2nd bid was a Tao proving level female monarch. Li Yan shouted, "The 2nd round of bidding begins. The starting price is still 200. 3,000 refined stars." Many people wanted to slowly increase the price, but in the next moment, they were stunned. Someone immediately said angrily, "F***CK, is the divine demon forest here too? Cause trouble?" Someone was furious. "So what if you're rich? You lunatic." This time even the savage bandits didn't take action, but someone from another private room said, "The one in room 3, I won't compete with you this time, but don't do this again. It would be a loss if the price exceeded 3,000. No one present was a fool. Who was willing to spend so much money to bid for a Tao proving level cultivator? After all, some people would rather give up the Tao proving level and find a perfected star transformation realm female cultivator to have children with. The result might not be bad either. Even immortals might not have so many refined stars. However, this time, Luo Xiaobai didn't walk out again. However, her words this time caused the great monarch in the room to be extremely dissatisfied. "You'd better explain to me why you took the initiative to provoke these people." Luo Xiaobai said calmly, "My lord, I don't need to provoke the relationship between the West Wilderness and the Central Sea Divine Realm at all. You've seen what happened today. With so many people here, how many of the auction items can we get if we use normal means? Therefore, if we don't use a special approach, we won't be able to compete. Now, I bet that before the next bidding, someone will come to our private room." Upon hearing this, the great monarch asked impatiently, "What about after he comes? Will he make a deal with us in private?" Luo Xiaobai said, "Why not? Han Fei controls the entire heaven concealing divine race. The auction is just the foreplay." The great monarch couldn't help but be interested. This new follower of the carefree level seemed to be smart and her words made sense. He asked, "And then?" At this moment, someone knocked on the door of the private room. Luo Xiaobai smiled. "Look, here he comes." The great monarch was overjoyed. Could it be so simple? He nodded slightly and waved his hand. A girl from the rock dragon race came politely with spiritual fruits and fragrant tea. As soon as Long Yan entered, she immediately said, "Sorry, guests in private room number 3. The auction house is in chaos this time." Some people spoke rudely. "And the rock dragon auction house can't appease them. Sorry for causing you trouble. The host specially arranged for me to apologize to you." "Oh? This is interesting. The great monarch looked back at Luo Xiaobai. Someone had really come and was apologizing so sincerely. It seemed that the heaven-concealing divine race was not as easy to sell as he imagined. If they really talked to him in private, he would have to bargain. Luo Xiaobai raised her hand and set up another seal on the room. The great monarch understood what she meant. There were all kinds of people in the Rock Dragon auction house today, and there were many strong masters. If they didn't seal this place tightly, it was very likely that others would hear them. The great monarch picked up the Dao tea handed over by Long Yan, sat on a big chair, and looked down at Long Yan. Speak. Long Yan was dumbfounded. What? The human emperor just asked me to deliver something and apologize. He didn't ask me to say anything to them. Seeing that Long Yan was dumbfounded, the great monarch was stunned when Luo Xiaobai said, "One great monarch, 2 immortals, and me, there are only 4 of us." This time it was the great monarch's turn to be dumbfounded. He had no idea what Luo Xiaobai was talking about. However, at this moment, he seemed to find that something was wrong. He was about to question Luo Xiaobai, when he saw Luo Xiaobai looking at him indifferently. At the same time, he suddenly felt his wrist tighten, and a black chain had already wrapped around his arm. When he tried to break free from the chain, he discovered, to his shock, that all his strength and laws were completely sealed and couldn't be used at all. At this moment, he seemed to have become an ordinary person. At the same time, a suppressing pressure descended into room 3. The 2 immortal-level attendants felt a pressure that almost suffocated them, pressing down on them at the same time. Long Yan's eyes widened. Is this the legendary law enforcement divine chain? A great monarch was instantly suppressed. How terrifying. Why did she see this scene that she shouldn't have seen again? Her entry into room 3 would definitely be discovered later, right? It's over. I'm doomed. The great monarch of the divine demon forest was shocked. Law enforcement. Divine chain, Han Fei? Are you Han Fei? I'm not. Long Yan waved her hand quickly. However, behind the 2 immortals, Han Fei's figure appeared. He casually placed his hands on the shoulders of the 2 immortals. But Han Fei ignored the great monarch of the divine demon forest and looked at Luo Xiaobai. Why did you go to the divine demon forest? Luo Xiaobai said, after all, the divine demon forest is the strongest force of demon plant cultivators. I learned a lot there. Han Fei was lost for words. There are gods in the divine demon forest, right? How can you sneak in so openly without being discovered? Luo Xiaobai said, first of all, the divine concealment technique is indeed at the peak of concealment techniques. Secondly, the gods don't have the time to pay attention to a small figure at the Dao proving level. Besides, the divine demon forest has many branches. Not everyone gathers together. At this moment, the great monarch spoke again, but this time he looked at Luo Xiaobai. Who the hell are you? Luo Xiaobai's appearance changed into her original appearance under the watch of this great monarch. She said indifferently, I am a human. Gulp. Long Yan, who was watching the show, didn't even dare to breathe heavily. The woman in front of her wasn't much stronger than her. She was only at the carefree level, but this woman had actually sneaked into the divine demon forest and followed her to the ferocious God Valley. Wasn't she too bold? Were all the strong masters of the human race so awesome? Han Fei chuckled. How did you fool this guy? You provoked so many people, but this guy still tolerates you. How strange. Luo Xiaobai put on a faint smile. Maybe he's stupid. The great monarch's eyes almost spewed out fury. He said, Han Fei, this is the ferocious God Valley. Killing is forbidden here. Do you want to break the rules of the ferocious God Valley? Han Fei chuckled. Don't you know what era this is? The conflict between the two parties is breaking out. If you weren't a sponsor, you would have been gone long ago. It wouldn't have been my turn to take action. Of course, even if you are a sponsor, so what? I'm not going to kill you. The creation divine prison appeared. After reading out the great monarch's crimes, Han Fei took him in. Han Fei said, wait for me here for a while. With that, Han Fei forcibly took the two immortals into his origin star. Han Fei's puppet technique was quite good. As it happened, Luo Xiaobai brought these people from the divine demon forest. Han Fei completely controlled the two immortals after studying them with the soul-controlling law seal for a while. As for the great monarch in the creation divine prison, his situation was a little troublesome. Han Fei directly refined him into a living dead. Anyway, as long as he didn't kill him, the creation divine prison didn't object to Han Fei's actions. When Han Fei came out of his origin star, he saw Luo Xiaobai sitting on a chair drinking tea, eating spiritual fruits, and continuing to observe the auction. However, the auction items had changed from the Tao proving level to the immortal level. Seeing Han Fei come out, Luo Xiaobai got up and said, it's done in an hour? Han Fei thought to himself, an hour has passed here, but almost 3 months have passed in my origin star. Han Fei waved his hand, and the great monarch and an immortal level powerhouse appeared in the private room again. But at this moment, the two of them seemed to ignore Han Fei and Luo Xiaobai. Puppets? Long Yan was not stupid. She knew that these people had definitely become puppets. Oh my God, one great monarch and 2 immortals were gone just like that? She couldn't help but secretly glance at Han Fei, wondering if she had also been made into a puppet. Feeling Long Yan's gaze, Han Fei turned around and looked at her with a smile. 1,000 refined stars, and you didn't see or know anything. You know the rules, right? Long Yan nodded quickly. Yes, I understand. Master Human Emperor, I don't know anything. I don't need your refined stars. But Han Fei didn't care. He casually threw a bag of refined stars over and said, take it. Then I'll be more at ease, otherwise, I'll have to turn you into a puppet too. Ah. No. I'll take it. Long Yan quickly took the refined stars, feeling nervous. At this moment, she really regretted meeting Han Fei. Also, damn old man, why did he have to ask her to serve Han Fei? Wasn't this sending her to die? She really wanted to gouge out her own eyes and stab her own ears deaf. Luo Xiaobai, on the other hand, was a little puzzled. Where is the other person? Han Fei said, he's still useful, so I keep him for myself. Now, let's go to my place? When Long Yan returned to the private room where Xia Shaochan and the others were, everyone looked at her, which made her a little scared. In the next moment, Han Fei appeared out of nowhere. Immediately afterward, Luo Xiaobai came out of Han Fei's origin star. Ah. Xiaobai. I missed you so much. After Xiao Shaochuan saw Luo Xiaobai, she pounced on her, and Luo Xiaobai finally put on a rare smile. Although Han Fei and the others were a 5-person team, the 3 of them were men after all, and girls were always closer to girls, so Xiao Shaochuan was particularly excited at this moment. Zhang Xuanyu said, "Xiaobai, it's not that I want to criticize you, but why? Were you running around all the time? Look, you missed the grand event in the God-fearing ancient land of the South Sea Divine Realm." Lu Renquang said, "I never expected you to come to the West Wilderness." Seeing that they were all here, Luo Xiaobai sounded much more relaxed. Although there were others around, she knew Chu Hao. As for the person next to him, although she didn't know him, Han Fei and the others should be very familiar with her. Luo Xiaobai said, "After leaving the infinite mining area, I returned to the chaotic wasteland and then went to the Central Sea Divine Realm. Although I learned about the news of the God-fearing ancient land later, I couldn't make it in time." Xiao Shaochuan asked, "Why did you think of coming to the ferocious God Valley?" Luo Xiaobai recovered her unique calmness and wisdom. "There's a lot of information about the Central Sea Divine Realm. After the battle in the Miracle Forest, the divine descendants hid in the West Wilderness on a large scale. It's impossible for me not to know this. Han Fei caused such a big uproar, and the divine descendants happened to enter the West Wilderness at this moment. If I still can't think of anything, how can I survive in the Central Sea Divine Realm?" Han Fei asked, "Why didn't you come until now?" Luo Xiaobai said, "There are many cultivation methods and ideas in the divine demon forest that I need very much. Otherwise, without strength, it would be useless even if I came to the West Wilderness." After that, Luo Xiaobai glanced at them and found that she couldn't see through any of them. Then, after a few seconds of silence, she said, "However, I didn't catch up with you in the end." Han Fei said, "Don't you see how many opportunities they all got? You went to the Central Sea Divine Realm alone and even sneaked into the Divine Demon Forest. It's already unbelievable that you advanced to the carefree level in less than 400 years. Luo Xiaobai rolled her eyes slightly. "I'll take it as a compliment." Then, Luo Xiaobai said, "I'm here in the West Wilderness not only to find you, but also to freeload on your resources. Although the Central Sea Divine Realm is huge and abundant with resources, the conditions for obtaining resources are relatively strict. It's too difficult for me to advance quickly, and it's inconvenient for me to make a breakthrough. Therefore, I need to come to you." At this moment, in the auction house, Li Yan shouted, 6,600 once, 6,600 twice, 6,600 times. Deal. The guest in room 7 wins an immortal level female monarch. Zhang Xuanyu pointed at Han Fei. "Look, he's the richest now." Lu Renquang nodded quickly. "I've never seen such a rich person. I suspect that he is even richer than our god-slaying bandits." Han Fei shrugged. "What you see is just the surface. However, the easiest way to obtain resources is to snatch them. Come to my origin star to cultivate later. Anyway, you won't use much." Zhang Xuanyu clicked his tongue. "Did you hear what he said?" "What a?" After introducing Yulinka to Luo Xiaobai, Xiao Shaochuan whispered to Luo Xiaobai. After about half an hour, the last immortal level cultivator was also auctioned away. In the field, Li Yan shouted, "Everyone, now that all the monarchs have been auctioned, don't be anxious. Next, Human Emperor Han Fei. Please announce the auction method for those below the monarch realm. Li Yan was an old fox. Han Fei didn't hand over anyone below the monarch realm to him, which meant that Han Fei had his own thoughts. In that case, Han Fei must show up at this auction. Therefore, although Han Fei didn't say anything, Li Yan still gave up the auction platform for Han Fei. As soon as Li Yan said so, Han Fei appeared on the stage. At this moment, there was no sound in the auction house. This human emperor was a legend. People were even more curious about Han Fei than about the subsequent auction items. A brilliant smile appeared on Han Fei's face. Everyone. Today is the auction of the heaven-concealing divine race. But the real auction segment has actually passed. After all, the heaven-concealing divine race used to be a divine race powerful in the sea realm and even the sea of stars. Although I've tried to strip them of part of their bloodline inheritance, the bloodline of the heaven-concealing divine race is still extraordinary. If they are bought in large numbers, I'm afraid something will happen. Therefore, I have a different way to sell them this time. Hearing Han Fei's words, many people understood. A strong master from the West Wilderness smiled. The human emperor is not giving the Central Sea Divine Realm any chance. Even if the Central Sea Divine Realm takes action, I'm afraid they won't be able to buy many of these people. Someone echoed, that's right. It seems that they will be auctioned in batches. Someone agreed. It's not bad to split them into batches. I heard that there are as many as 500,000 people in the sky-opening realm. There aren't many who can eat them in one go. Han Fei continued, this time, there are a total of 530,000 people in the sky opening realm in the heaven-concealing divine race, including everyone from the early stage of the sky-opening realm to the perfected star transformation realm. According to the bloodline and talent of the heaven-concealing divine race, I'll price each of these sky openers 3 refined stars. Yes, the price is fixed. Whether it's the early stage of the sky-opening realm or the perfected star transformation realm, it's the same. Anyone who wants to participate in the auction can bid blindly. As for what realm you can buy, it depends on your luck. A blind auction? 3 refined stars are not much, but how does this blind auction work? This thing feels like a lottery. Han Fei said, the so-called blind auction is that the participants can submit an amount they want to bid for with their number plates. If you want to bid for a person, fill in 1. If you want to bid for 100, then fill in a 100. If you want to bid for 1,000, then fill in 1,000. But in the end, it depends on luck how much you can bid for. I can only guarantee that everyone present can get some. But as for how many people you can get, it depends on the data given by the auction house. Boom. Immediately, someone laughed out loud. This is interesting. I agree with this method. Everyone present understood at this moment. Han Fei clearly didn't want the people of the Central Sea Divine Realm to bid for a large number of strong masters of the heaven-concealing divine race. The so-called blind auction was just an excuse. Han Fei had the final say on how many people he wanted to give you. No matter how much money the sponsors of the Central Sea Divine Realm brought, it was useless because you couldn't spend it. If the Central Sea Divine Realm couldn't bid for many people, then the others could get more. Immediately, someone in the private room objected, Master Human Emperor. Isn't this blind bidding unfair? Han Fei looked up and smiled. I'm not asking you to do it. It's up to you whether to do it or not. As long as most people accept this method is feasible. The audience was in an uproar. Someone sneered. He just doesn't want you people from the Central Sea Divine Realm to buy many people. What can you do? Someone said disdainfully, those who object, stand up and object. Let's see who you are. Someone laughed. With the bloodline of the heaven-concealing divine race. It's only 3 refined stars for one person. Do you still want to be picky? If you don't want to bid, get lost. There might be sponsors from the Central Sea Divine Realm coming to bid, but this was the ferocious God Valley. They were obviously outnumbered. If they forcibly stood up, they would only be hated and sieged by others. Therefore, although some forces from the Central Sea Divine Realm wanted to object to this blind auction, they didn't say anything in the end. Hanfei smiled and said, anyone who bids can specify the force you're from and the number of people you want to buy on their number plates. The day after this auction ends, the Rock Dragon Auction House will announce the result. Next, I'll talk about the way to sell those below the sky opening realm. Yes. To sell, not auction. Someone asked, will they be sold at a fixed price? Hanfei replied with a smile, it's fixed and can be sold in batches. Although there are 1 billion people below the sky opening realm, you should know that the price won't be high. Since it can't be high, why should I auction it? I might as well dump it at a low price and let many forces choose to buy it. The Rock Dragon Auction House will set up a special department. As long as you don't buy these people to kill for fun and use them reasonably, you can buy them until they are sold out. Really? 1 billion people. I have to buy some back. Are the cultivators below the sky opening realm so worthless? Good Lord, this is a divine race after all. Their bloodline is extraordinary. They've actually fallen to the point where even we can choose to buy them? In the field, many people had only come to observe the auction and didn't intend to take action at all, because they felt that even if they did, they couldn't afford it. However, from the looks of it, the price below the sky opening realm would be ridiculously cheap. If that was the case, wouldn't he be able to buy a bunch of them with 1 refined star? Even if he didn't need them, he could take them back to replenish the population of his race and squeeze out some cultivation techniques of the heaven-concealing divine race. There were too many things worth learning about the cultivation path of the divine race. Therefore, even those below the sky opening realm were still members of the divine race, and their clansmen couldn't be compared to them. Human Emperor is magnanimous. Ha ha ha, Human Emperor, if you do this, I'm afraid the heaven-concealing divine race won't be enough to sell. Well, I have to buy some back today. Human Emperor, when will those below the sky opening realm be sold to the public? Hanfei couldn't help but look at Li Yan, who was standing in the corner of the stage with a stiff smile. He immediately smiled and said, the fastest will be in a few days, and the slowest will be in half a month. However, the Rock Dragon Auction House will take care of the rest. If you have any questions, you can ask Li Yan. Hanfei walked to Li Yan with a smile and patted his shoulder. Don't worry. I won't mistreat you. The Rock Dragon Auction House will get 5% of the profits. This time, Old Li, you'll gain both fame and fortune. Li Yan was immediately refreshed. Yes, yes. You can rest assured, Human Emperor. I won't let you down. I'll definitely do this job well. Not bad. Li Yan was not stupid. The profits this time would be terrifyingly high. The monarchs had been sold by nearly 180,000 refined stars. And there were 530,000 sky openers, and each was sold by 3 refined stars, so it was also an astronomical figure. The two added up to nearly 1.8 million refined stars. Including the people below the sky-opening realm, the heaven-concealing divine race could definitely be sold by 2 million refined stars this time. If the Rock Dragon auction house got 5%, it would be 100,000 refined stars. How many years would it take for him to earn this amount? Therefore, Han Fei had given such a high return. If he still couldn't do it, well, the cooperation between Han Fei and the Rock Dragon auction house might be over. Returning to the private room, Lu Renquang and the others seemed to be calculating. Seeing Han Fei return, Zhang Xuanyu immediately said, "Fei Fei," Xiaobai said, "that you lost at least 500,000 refined stars this time. Is it true?" Han Fei was stunned for a moment and then smiled. "More or less. It shouldn't be that much, but there should be a loss of 200,000 or 300,000. Lu Renquang said, "You've already earned a lot of refined stars. How can you lose so much?" Luo Xiaobai said, "The invisible value of the heaven-concealing divine race has been greatly underestimated by you. Although the inherited bloodline of the heaven-concealing divine race has been stripped away, the level of their bloodline is still very high. Even if the human race develops for another 10,000 years and produces many strong masters, after the new human races bloodline is greatly strengthened, they might not be able to keep up with the average bloodline level of the heaven-concealing divine race. Therefore, even if the price of the sky-opening realm today is increased to 4 refined stars, many people will still buy it. In this case alone, we lost 500,000 refined stars." Han Fei touched his nose. "I don't think I'll lose so much. I've already increased the price of sky openers. Otherwise, ordinary sky openers can probably be bought with 1 refined star. 2 is already a high price." Luo Xiaobai said, "Don't forget, although their inherited bloodline has been stripped away, they have still mastered countless advanced techniques, and even divine techniques. However, you can sell them like this. This way, they will be sold out very quickly. If I've guessed right, in a year or so at most, the entire heaven-concealing divine race will be sold out." Chu Hao interjected, "It's just a few million refined stars. In the future, when the divine descendants rise and sweep across the Central Sea divine realm, not to mention a few million, even tens of millions won't be a problem." Han Fei rolled his eyes. "Even if the divine descendants rise, how can you resist the Central Sea divine realm in a short period of time? I'll thank the heavens if you can block the Central Sea divine realm for some time." Yu Linka said, "Have some faith in us. Even if the divine descendants are no match for the Central Sea divine realm after we rise, don't forget that there are still the 4 divine realms." Han Fei nodded slightly and then said, "Senior Chu Hao, since you have nothing to do, can you help me collect the money here?" Chu Hao was speechless. "Collect the money for you? Where are you going?" Han Fei said matter-of-factly, "I'll be cultivating in seclusion, of course. Otherwise, how could I break the records?" Chu Hao said, "Aren't you afraid that I'll pocket the money?" Han Fei smiled. "If you don't want to save the divine descendants, do it." After handing over all the heaven-concealing divine race in his origin star to Chu Hao, Han Fei and the others returned to the waiting for someone tavern. Another moment later, In Han Fei's origin star, the 5 of them sat together, and Han Fei said, "Compared to the old antiques in the Sea Realm or the Sea of Stars, what we lack the most is time. And here, time is accelerated by 1024 times. While I have enough resources now, let's cultivate as hard as we can. At least, we won't be restricted by resources here." Zhang Xuanyu was shocked. It's already 1024 times? Isn't cultivating for 100 years here equivalent to others cultivating for 100,000 years outside? Han Fei said, but some stages can't be calculated with time. Just like the law stacking stage, time alone is meaningless. Luo Xiaobai asked, law stacking? Han Fei said, it's a stagnation period in the intermediate stage of the immortal level. Why are there so few great monarchs in the Sea Realm or even the Sea of Stars? Why are those powerhouses above the immortal level who have cultivated at least for tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years? These are all related to this law stacking period. Without the law stacking period, there will be countless times more great monarchs in this world than now. Lu Renkuang said, but what can we do? It's difficult to stack laws quickly. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei. So, have you learned a new way of law stacking? Or is there any way to accelerate law stacking? Even Xia Shaochan looked puzzled. After all, when she reunited with Han Fei, the path of reincarnation hadn't opened yet. Even Han Fei didn't know that the path of reincarnation could stack laws. Han Fei glanced at them. I have a method that may allow you to complete the law stacking in decades. What? Lu Renkuang immediately stood up with a swish. Zhang Xuanyu, on the other hand, was shocked and curious. What method? I feel that it's difficult to stack 100 laws, but you're telling me that you can help us finish stacking laws in decades? Han Fei said, there is a way, but I'm not sure if this method is feasible. Han Fei really didn't know if the path of reincarnation could let living people in, let alone if they could go into the river to take a bath. At least, he hadn't understood all the functions of the path of reincarnation yet. But he guessed that it should be possible. He could give Chen Lingsu the right to stay on the path of reincarnation, but that was before she embarked on the path of reincarnation. Besides, Chen Lingsu entered the path of reincarnation as a remnant soul. But now, if Xiao Shaochan and the others went in, just like him, they would enter the path of reincarnation with their bodies. What would happen was unknown. Han Fei waved his hand, and the green jade stone bridge appeared in front of everyone. Huh? This bridge? Zhang Xuanyu and the others had all seen this bridge. Although Han Fei had never shown it to the public, they had come to Han Fei's origin star more than once, and Han Fei had never restricted them. Therefore, they had naturally seen this bridge, but they didn't take it seriously before and only thought it was a treasure. Han Fei said casually, this is not a bridge, but the path of reincarnation. Puff. Lu Renkuang vomited all the fish in his mouth and looked at Han Fei in disbelief. What did you say? Han Fei said, this is the path of reincarnation. Even Luo Xiaobai couldn't help but widen her eyes, feeling that she was hearing things. Even Xia Shaochan looked puzzled. What does the path of reincarnation have to do with law stacking? Zhang Xuanyu was dumbfounded. What is the path of reincarnation? After Han Fei told everyone about the soul sea, the bloodline divine tree, the path of reincarnation, and the eternal race, they were all shocked. Zhang Xuanyu cursed, that eternal race is really evil. They actually stole the opportunity of all races to become gods. What's the difference between them and the ominous? Lu Renkuang's focus was not here. He said, Fei, won't the eternal race be furious after the path of reincarnation returns? Won't they take revenge on you crazily? Han Fei shrugged. At least now, they can't find me. Now, except for my senior brothers from the Void Temple, there are only a few of you who know that the path of reincarnation is with me. I just told you that I can't be sure if you can walk on it, let alone enter the river, to stack laws. Therefore, I have to find someone to try first. With that, the space here changed, and the immortal level puppet from the divine demon forest that Han Fei left behind appeared in front of everyone. This person was right at the law stacking stage. As for whether living people could enter the path of reincarnation, they could test it with this guy. Go up. Han Fei issued an order. Although the sealed soul in the puppet was unwilling, it couldn't resist Han Fei's order. The moment the puppet stepped on the green jade stone bridge, it disappeared without a trace, and Han Fei followed closely behind. On the green jade bridge, there were still 100,000 teams moving forward, waiting for reincarnation. When Han Fei appeared here, he saw that the person from the divine demon forest had also appeared on the bridge, not under it. Huh? The power of the law is not absorbed. Han Fei was overjoyed. The river didn't absorb his laws, which meant that living people could enter this place. But after a few seconds, Han Fei discovered that although the power of this person's laws was not absorbed, his vitality was constantly flowing away. Han Fei, who controlled the law of life, was very sensitive to the loss of vitality. He immediately tried to sense the river of life and found that on the path of reincarnation, the connection between this immortal and his river of life was vague. Furthermore, his river of life seemed to be corroded by some unknown power. Logically speaking, after the immortal level, one's lifespan was already very long because their rivers of life gave them a long life. However, once they lost contact with their rivers of life, their lives would be unsustainable. He used this method to deal with the ominous creatures, severing the connection between them and their rivers of life. Only then could he kill them in one blow. Now, the same effect appeared on the path of reincarnation. This immortal level cultivator couldn't absorb vitality from his river of life, and the vitality contained in him was flowing away. Under such circumstances, he would die soon. Immediately, the law of life surged on Han Fei's body, and he guided the vitality of this person's river of life into his body. When the other party's vitality was relatively stable, Han Fei observed for another 10 seconds, frowning slightly. This was because he found that although the connection between the river of life and this person had recovered, his vitality was still flowing away. That was because this person's body seemed to have turned into a funnel. Every inch of his skin, flesh, and blood were leaking vitality all the time. Han Fei immediately communicated with the green jade stone bridge, but perhaps because he couldn't completely control the path of reincarnation, unlike Chen Lingsu's time, the path of reincarnation didn't listen to him. This person's vitality was still flowing away. Seeing this, Han Fei made up his mind and immediately guided his vitality to completely envelop this person. Finally, this person's vitality stopped flowing, because the path of reincarnation wouldn't absorb his vitality. Phew. Although it's a little troublesome, it's feasible. Come down. Han Fei grabbed the immortal level cultivator and jumped into the river. Han Fei said, try to absorb the laws here to stack laws. But in the next moment, no matter how the puppet tried, the laws here seemed to be blocked by his vitality and couldn't enter this person's body at all. Han Fei had to retract his vitality, only to see that the puppet's vitality was flowing away by tens of times. Although this was an immortal level demon plant and its life was long, it definitely couldn't last a year in this state. How could Han Fei be willing? Since the path of reincarnation had chosen him, it should give him some special rights, right? Besides, he just wanted to use it to help some people transition a small realm. Why didn't it give him this little chance? Han Fei made up his mind and injected his vitality into the puppet. After a pause, he saw that his vitality didn't dissipate. He shouted again, absorb the power of laws. This time, when the puppet tried to absorb the laws again, the infinite laws in the river finally surged over. However, Han Fei's expression seemed a little strange, because he felt that the massive amount of laws entered his body first before entering the puppet's body. This also meant that he couldn't let go of this puppet at all. Han Fei immediately tried to let go of the puppet. But in the next moment, he felt that the vitality he injected into the puppet became ownerless and quickly dissipated. Heh! The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. This was a little annoying. He had found a way for living people to enter this place and stack laws, but this method required him to accompany them. That was, he had to be present and transmit the power of laws to them through his body. And he was equivalent to a transit station. He had to accompany them for as long as they cultivated. This also meant that if someone wanted to stack laws here, he had to be present. Otherwise, if living people came in, not only would they be unable to stack laws, but they would also die. After a while, when Han Fei returned to his origin star with the puppet, Xiaochan and the others hurriedly asked, is it done? Han Fei nodded slightly. Yes, but have any of you already established your original law? Xiaochan said, me. Zhang Xuanyu said, I think I can establish my original law at will, but I haven't stacked more than 100 laws yet. Han Fei raised his eyebrows. Can you establish your original law at any time? Zhang Xuanyu was puzzled. Isn't this very simple? Lu Renquang said, I don't think it's difficult either. Han Fei couldn't help but think that Zhang Xuanyu had devoted his life to the spear Dao. Lu Renquang focused on eating, and Xia Xiaochan had the inheritance of the Southern Dipper, and her dual divine paths had already appeared, so there would be no problem for them. If it were Luo Xiaobai, she might have directly chosen an original law most suitable for her. It seemed that among the 5 of them, only he had some understanding of his original law after reaching the immortal level. Han Fei said, okay. Then, Xiaobai will stay on my origin star, to cultivate. When you're about to condense a law body, I'll take you into the path of reincarnation to stack laws. Luo Xiaobai asked, will it waste your time? After all, you still have to help the divine descendants recover their bloodline. Han Fei shook his head. I may be in a hurry, but these decades don't matter. Luo Xiaobai nodded. Okay. Zhang Xuanyu asked, then shall we go now? Han Fei said, no rush. Let's eat first. In fact, at this level, it was very rare that the 5 of them could gather again. This was because everyone had their own paths to walk and had to experience different things. However, in a special realm like the immortal level, all he needed to do was To stack laws, and this was the only place he could help them on their respective paths. Otherwise, if they really stacked laws slowly, without the support of a family as rich as the Phoenix divine race, no matter how fast it would probably take 10,000 years. But in another 10,000 years, the ominous would probably come. At that time, even if they became great monarchs, it wouldn't seem to make much sense. Besides, Han Fei was also looking forward to it. If one day, they could still fight side by side in the same realm, wouldn't it be great? This was the first time Xia Xiaochan and the others had come to the path of reincarnation. When they saw the creatures of all races lined up in 100,000 long lines, they were really shocked. In particular, on both sides of the road, hellfire was burning, and countless remnant souls were wailing, making them swallow crazily. Lu Renkuang asked, if we die in the future, will we be here too? Han Fei nodded. Yes. As long as your soul isn't shattered on the spot, and even your dissipating remnant soul is crushed, you will. Suddenly, Xia Xiaochan said, my vitality is fading. It's so fast. Hearing this, Zhang Xuanyu and Lu Renkuang quickly came back to their senses, and also felt their vitality fading. Han Fei said, take my hand. Immediately, they held each other's hands, and a large amount of vitality in Han Fei's body instantly returned to the three of them. Only then did their vitality stop flowing. Xia Xiaochan was a little surprised. I seem to feel an abnormally rich vitality. It seems endless? Han Fei said, of course, it's because of the law of life I've mastered. Now, jump into the river with me. The river? They jumped off the green jade bridge with Han Fei and fell into the water. Under the water, they immediately felt that the water contained infinite power of laws. With a slight traction, a large amount of power of laws rushed into their bodies from Han Fei's body. Xia Xiaochan asked, why is the power of laws coming from your body? Han Fei said, you can't cultivate here directly, or your vitality will quickly pass. In less than a year, or even less, you will die. Therefore, I have to protect your vitality, so I can only guide the power of laws into your bodies. Zhang Xuanyu asked, isn't the path of reincarnation yours? Why is it so troublesome? Han Fei was lost for words. You think it's troublesome? How can there be no restrictions on the way to let people stack laws in an extremely short period of time? Otherwise, wouldn't I be able to directly increase the strength of all peak-level carefree level cultivators to the intermediate stage of the immortal level? Then, I can continue to increase their strength to the late stage of the immortal level. In that case, wouldn't the immortal level be nothing to me? Zhang Xuanyu smacked his lips. That did make sense. If he could really directly upgrade a peak-level carefree level cultivator to the late stage of the immortal level, wouldn't late-stage immortal level cultivators be born in batches? That was a result that ordinary people could only achieve in tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of years. After about 10 seconds, Xia Xiaochan, Zhang Xuanyu, and Lu Renkuang exclaimed, so fast. The laws came so fast. Lu Renkuang asked, what kind of speed is this? It only took me a minute to complete a law. If I had known this earlier, I wouldn't have condensed a law body. Wouldn't it be better to just soak here? Zhang Xuanyu smiled. Great, great. I've never felt so much power of laws. It's ridiculous. Han Fei said, don't be happy too early. You go out first later. Why? Zhang Xuanyu was dumbfounded. Han Fei said, if you stack more than 100 laws, the laws will be incompatible, which will cause your realm to be unstable and need to be stabilized. You, Quang, and the others have to go out to consolidate your cultivation after stacking more than 100 laws. After you stabilize your realm and know what your original law is like, you can come in again. Ah, well. Lu Renquang said, then I might have to go out first. The power of the law is coming too fast. I feel that I'm about to finish stacking another law. Zhang Xuanyu cursed, I'm almost done stacking one too. Xiao Xiaochan said, you two talk too much. I've already stacked a law. After about half an hour, Zhang Xuanyu said, I've also successfully stacked one law. It's only been half an hour. It's comparable to a year of cultivation. For me. Xiao Xiaochan said, what are you bragging about? Can you stack one law a year? Unless you rob someone. Zhang Xuanyu said, I mean if there are conditions. A moment later, Lu Renquang said, I stacked another law. Xiao Xiaochan said, I've stacked another one. Zhang Xuanyu said, I'll be done soon. Therefore, throughout the day, Han Fei heard the three of them shout, I've stacked another law. After only half a day, Lu Renquang said, Fei, I've stacked more than 100 laws. Han Fei said, then go out first and quickly establish your original law. After another day, Zhang Xuanyu also shouted, Fei, I've stacked more than 100 laws too. Han Fei said, after you go out, cultivate in seclusion. When there were only Han Fei and Xiao Xiaochan left, Xiao Xiaochan was almost immersed in the crazy law stacking process. 2 months passed. 170 years had passed in his origin star. With enough resources, Luo Xiaobai finally reached the peak of the carefree level. Han Fei took her into the path of reincarnation. It only took her 7 days to condense a law body and advance to the immortal level. 3 years later, when Xiao Xiaochan's law stacking reached 90,000, she couldn't continue. 3 years and 3 months later, Zhang Xuanyu finally stopped after stacking more than 81,000 laws. 3 years and 5 months later, Lu Renquang had stacked more than 88,000 laws and stopped. 3 years and 9 months later, Luo Xiaobai finally finished stacking more than 92,000 laws. To Han Fei's surprise, Luo Xiaobai had the highest number of stacks among them. Was it related to Luo Xiaobai's ancient demon plant bloodline? The moment Luo Xiaobai opened her eyes, she felt as if a lifetime had passed. A few years ago, she had just entered the carefree level, but in just 4 years, she had reached the late stage of the immortal level. Seeing Luo Xiaobai wake up, Han Fei couldn't help but ask, how do you feel? Luo Xiaobai took a look. Where are they? Han Fei said, they have already stacked their laws to the limit and gone out. Luo Xiaobai sighed emotionally. Thank you. Han Fei was lost for words. Why? Why are you so polite after the trip to the Central Sea Divine Realm? Luo Xiaobai shook her head slightly. It's precisely because I've been to the Central Sea Divine Realm that I know how shocking it is to almost cross the immortal level in 4 years. Time, resources, opportunities. Now that everything is available, it's almost inevitable to become stronger. I'm just a little curious. With all these, you're only a great monarch. Han Fei chuckled. What do you mean I'm only a great monarch? I'm an extreme Dao body refiner. Besides, it will take a lot of time to consolidate my realm. After rapid improvement, Luo Xiaobai said, there is a saying that applies to your origin star. What is it? A day apart feels like 3 years. I used to think this description was an exaggeration, but now it seems that it really exists in this world. Han Fei. Suddenly, Luo Xiaobai felt that this word was not right and blushed. Then, she changed the topic. Do you know where this river leads? Huh? Han Fei was stunned for a moment and didn't understand what Luo Xiaobai meant. He didn't walk along the river. He didn't even think about it and seemed to completely treat the river as a pool of laws. Luo Xiaobai continued, the world is full of laws. Then how were laws born? Due of origin. Before Luo Xiaobai could continue, Han Fei said, in the chaotic era, at the beginning of the primordial era, before the birth of heaven and earth, before the establishment of all laws, there existed a divine due, called the due of origin. The due of origin can conceive the initial life of chaos, nourish the initial laws of chaos, transform the initial great Taos of chaos, and give rise to supreme nature treasure. This is the beginning of all races. Luo Xiaobai looked at Han Fei. This was the first time she had heard of such a thing. Luo Xiaobai said, even if the laws were born from the due of origin, the soul has the soul sea, life has the life river, and time has the time river. Will there be a river of laws in this sea of stars? After a person dies, his laws are absorbed by this river, but it doesn't disappear. As for the newborns, they cultivate and grow. Some people embark on the same path and cultivate the same law. If the number of laws in the world is fixed, then over time, the laws in the world should become thinner and thinner. However, the world and the sea of stars are still filled with infinite laws. Han Fei looked thoughtful, and Luo Xiaobai continued, therefore, either the number of laws is constantly increasing, and somewhere is constantly producing laws, or there is a river or other containers that contains laws, constantly recycling and releasing these laws. Either way, this river should be a river in reality, but it's difficult for ordinary people to see it. Or maybe, this is a river that can only be discovered between life and death. Buzz. With a thought, Han Fei pulled Luo Xiaobai onto the green jade stone bridge. It was more convenient to talk on the bridge. He said, what do you think? Luo Xiaobai looked at the river, holding her chin with a hand. She thought for a moment and said, this river flows. Han Fei nodded. So you think there's something wrong with its source? Luo Xiaobai shook her head slightly. I don't know. I just think that this river might have something to do with the origin of the Sea of Stars. What do you think? Han Fei looked at the river under the bridge and fell into deep thought. I really haven't considered this matter. However, when I have time, I can go to the upper and lower reaches of this river to take a look. Hearing Luo Xiaobai's words, Han Fei pondered for dozens of seconds before he came back to himself. What Luo Xiaobai said did make sense. At present, only he could walk this river, so why not take a look? However, when he looked back, he saw Luo Xiaobai staring at the remnant soul of the 100,000 strong cues. Han Fei couldn't help but ask, what do you think? Luo Xiaobai asked, can you specify where these souls will reincarnate? Han Fei's heart stirred. Of course, he understood what Luo Xiaobai meant. If these souls could be designated to reincarnate in the human race, it could be foreseen that countless strong masters would be born in the human race. However, the door of rebirth was full of stars. Who knew which star represented the human race? Han Fei shook his head. The path of reincarnation is not my exclusive item. Although I'm in charge for the time being, you should have discovered that I'm only exploring it and haven't figured out its full usage. Luo Xiaobai looked at these remnant souls and said calmly, let's go. I'll ask them to cut off this memory after they get out. Han Fei frowned slightly. Before he could speak, Luo Xiaobai said solemnly, since this path involves the eternal race, we can't slack off at all. Even we can't let our guard down. If one day, one of us falls into a life and death crisis, is possessed, or is abducted, the secrets of the path of reincarnation will definitely be exposed once the other party searches his soul. Han Fei said non-committally, okay. Do you want to cultivate here, or something? Luo Xiaobai said, since I'm here, I'll cultivate here. When my realm is completely stabilized, I need to see the trials of the primordial tower. If I've guessed right, the primordial tower should be an opportunity for us to advance to the great monarch realm. At least, before you solve the bloodline problem of the divine descendants, and start a war with the Central Sea divine realm, we will all be here. Luo Xiaobai and the others knew Han Fei too well. They must fight this battle against the Central Sea divine realm. The Central Sea divine realm was just like the former Thousand-Star City and later the Supreme Clearness World. Many forces in the Central Sea divine realm slaughtered the human race. They couldn't let go of this grudge. Okay. I'll wait for you. 100 years later. Han Fei woke up from his cultivation. In the past 100 years, Luo Xiaobai and the others left Han Fei's origin star one after another to challenge the primordial tower. Although Han Fei occasionally wanted to go out to take trials, even if he swallowed unrefined stars with all his strength, it was really difficult for him to quickly fuse with his origin star. In the past 100 years, he had consumed 1.48 million refined stars and only fused with 60% of his origin star. Lu Renquan, Luo Xiaobai, and the others had cultivated here for 10,000 years. And had almost reached the immortal level. In total, they had only used less than 80,000 refined stars, not even a fraction of his. Phew! Are these resources enough? Han Fei was a little worried. As early as a year after he entered the origin star, the population of the heaven-concealing divine race had been sold out. Excluding the 5% commission given to the Rock Dragon auction house, Han Fei obtained a total of 1.96 million refined stars. In the end, Han Fei obtained a total of 4.21 million refined stars. He became extremely rich. But now, after only 100 years, he only had 2.65 million refined stars left. If he still had 1 million refined stars left after completely fusing his origin stars, he would be lucky. Han Fei looked at his information. Owner, Han Fei. Level, 119, Great Monarch. Bloodline ranking among the clans in the Infinite Ocean, the 3,306th. Immortal Chi, 4,052,222. Soul, 100,213 origins. Strength, 100,213 star powers. First spiritual heritage, origin spiritual heritage. Second spiritual heritage, eternal darkness spiritual heritage. First spiritual beast, twin yin-yang sky swallowing fish, level 119. Second spiritual beast, emperor sparrow, level 118. Main art, God-fiend body. Han Fei wasn't surprised that his strength had exceeded the peak of the extreme Tao. Otherwise, what was the point of him swallowing refined stars crazily for such a long time? The star-devouring technique was the #1 technique of the human race. After all, As early as when Han Fei doubted the strength of the god of war, he had expected this. The peak of the extreme Tao might not be the real limit. Or rather, for different people, the concept of the extreme Tao was different. According to such an increase in strength, if he completely fused his origin star, his basic strength might reach more than 140,000 points. And this didn't consider the fusion of his origin star core. Otherwise, this number might have increased. Unfortunately, he promised senior brother Azure Dragon that he would go to the dragon race within 100 years, so Han Fei could only stop cultivating for the time being. He didn't know what the effect of bathing in the dragon pool would be, but it was beneficial to him. While senior brother Azure Dragon wasn't asleep, he would go and come back early so that he could continue to cultivate in seclusion. In the waiting for someone tavern, Han Fei appeared on the second floor. Except for Yulinka, no one noticed his arrival. When Yulinka went to the second floor, she couldn't help but look at Han Fei up and down. Such rich qi and blood and the invisible charm you emanate. Are you already at the peak of the extreme Tao? Although she said it calmly, Yulinka was quite shocked in her heart. Although she knew that the supreme divine technique was very strong, no one had said that the supreme divine technique could be cultivated so quickly. Han Fei nodded slightly. Sister-in-law, has the Central Sea Divine Realm been peaceful recently? Yulinka said, it doesn't matter. As long as the primordial divine race isn't exposed, this battle won't start. Are you going to challenge the primordial tower again? However, Han Fei shook his head. No, sister-in-law, I may have to leave for a while. If they ask, just tell them that I'm fine and let them cultivate in peace. Yulinka frowned. Leave? Are you going to the Central Sea Divine Realm again? Suddenly, Yulinka thought of something and couldn't help but say in surprise, don't tell me that you've used up your resources again. Han Fei laughed. How can it be so fast? That's a refined star worth millions. This trip is not dangerous. I'll definitely return in decades or 100 years. Oh. Even if there's danger, you have to go. I'll inform them. Don't worry. Outside his origin star, in the sea of stars. As soon as Han Fei came out, he saw the divine light blooming billions of kilometers away. It was surrounded by infinite laws. As soon as Han Fei appeared, he heard a voice from the divine light. Is war about to break out? Han Fei shook his head. Not yet. Senior, are you going to make a breakthrough? This person was Qiu Wanren. Han Fei had released him when he was in seclusion. In the battle in the Central Sea Divine Realm in the future, the other party had god-slaying level powerhouses, and senior sister Shenlu asked him to unify the sea realm. Without a god-slaying level powerhouse, how could he unify the sea realm? Fortunately, Qiu Wanren had been suppressed in the creation divine prison for too long and had figured out the way to advance to the god-slaying level, which replenished the lack of god-slaying level combat power on his side. Humph. If it weren't for you stingy brat who didn't give me any resources, I would have made a breakthrough decades ago. But not yet. Although I still have some stock, it's still not enough. It's relatively slow to absorb energy from the sea of stars. It will probably take me another 50 or 60 years. Han Fei rolled his eyes. Don't you know how many resources you demanded? Asking me for at least 2 million refined stars. How can I afford it? Hearing that the other party hadn't made a breakthrough yet, Han Fei Immediately said, Senior, you can cultivate first. I still have something to do and need to leave the West Wilderness for the time being. I'll definitely return in at most 100 years. If you make a breakthrough during this period, you can wait for me for a while. Go. Don't go to the Central Sea Divine Realm, or you might not be able to come back alive. Of course. With that, Han Fei immediately activated his token, and the distanceless gate appeared. This time, the distanceless gate directly showed, you haven't attacked the ominous in a long time. Han Fei said, I was cultivating in seclusion and didn't have the time to do it. This time, I'm going to the Dragon Palace, the territory of the dragon race. You should know it, right? Got it. Then I'll send you to the dragon battlefield first. The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched. Okay. Old distanceless, there are so many ominous creatures in this world. Even if I kill 100,000 or 80,000 of them now, it won't change the situation at all. When I become a god in the future, I can easily kill 1,000,000 of them, right? The distanceless gate, kill one less. Fine. Han Fei stepped into the door. It wasn't until Han Fei disappeared into the sea of stars that Qiu Wanren secretly muttered, Dragon race? Aren't they cursed? Why aren't they extinct yet? Swish. In a place enveloped by a green nebula, countless huge stars floated. On these stars, there were many huge demon plants. Each of them was comparable to the Cloud Sea Divine Tree. Although they couldn't compare to the primordial star tree and the miracle tree, there were many of them. On these demon plants, there were huge fruits one after another. Some of them might be even bigger than stars. The smallest fruit had a diameter of thousands of kilometers. The largest was actually as big as a star. When Han Fei appeared here, he was dumbfounded. In front of him was a melon with a diameter of more than 300,000 kilometers. Yes, that thing was like a huge yellow peach with many huge pits drilled out of it. Han Fei saw a dragon thousands of kilometers long, hanging on the yellow peach like a gecko and gnawing crazily. There were thousands of such fruits around, and there were countless stars planted with giant demon plants here. However, there was a very obvious characteristic, which was that all the giant demon plants had fruits hanging on them. Some fruits were still growing, and some had already ripened. Countless huge dragon bodies hung on the fruits and not on them, giving Han Fei the illusion that the fruits in an orchard were full of worms. Although this analogy was not appropriate, at this moment, Han Fei felt that way. This was because compared to the huge fruits, the huge dragons were really like worms. F***ck. Is this the dragon race? A sentence quickly appeared on the distanceless gate. If you walk forward, you'll reach the dragon battlefield. With that, the distanceless gate faded and didn't stay to monitor if Han Fei had killed 50,000 ominous creatures. The distanceless gate? Voices sounded one after another here, as if they were surprised that the distanceless gate would appear here. However, when the distanceless gate left, leaving Han Fei standing alone in the sea of stars, countless giant dragons immediately looked at Han Fei. The corner of Han Fei's mouth twitched, and he secretly exclaimed in his heart, so strong. As far as he could see, the weakest dragon he saw here was in the perfected star transformation realm. And the monarch realm dragons accounted for 5% of the population. Without releasing his perception, Han Fei saw tens of thousands of monarch realm dragons. Gulp. Han Fei couldn't help swallowing. Tens of thousands of monarchs? Seriously? It was a question if there were tens of thousands of monarchs in the entire sea realm, but he had seen tens of thousands of monarch realm dragons with a single glance here? If he had such strength, wouldn't he be able to sweep across the sea realm easily? Human? Everyone, look, a human has come. Oh. This guy is so small. Only this little. Wow, so small, but I can't see through his strength. Is this person stronger than me? Hey, that person, which race are you from? Why are you on the battlefield of our dragon race? Han Fei was speechless. You called me human just now, so I'm a human. Looking at these dragons who didn't seem to be very smart, Han Fei looked around and said, everyone, I am human Emperor Han Fei. I'm here to visit the Dragon Monarch. Humans? Visit the Dragon Monarch? Han Fei, do you think you can visit the Dragon Monarch as you please? That's right. You won't be able to see the Dragon Monarch, but I can treat you to fruits. Tell me, where are you from? Even if you want to visit the Dragon Monarch, you're in the wrong place. This is the Dragon Valley, a battlefield. The Dragon Monarch is not here. Han Fei said, I know that the Dragon Monarch is in the Dragon Palace. However, I promised the distanceless gate that I would hunt some ominous creatures as the reward for his delivery. Therefore, I have to go to the front line battlefield first. You? How strong are you? Can you go to the front line battlefield? Bang! In the next moment, the dragon who spoke was whipped away by a huge tail. Then, a white dragon appeared in the sky, and the white dragon snorted. Shut up, all of you. This person is a great monarch. You might not be a match for him even if you join forces. Hiss. Him? A great monarch? I don't believe it. Really? Then why can't I see his strength? The white dragon shouted, what are you talking about? You're only at the peak of the carefree level. How can you see through a great monarch? Then, the white dragon looked at Han Fei and said in a gentler tone, Han Fei. Right? We dragons usually live with our original bodies. Please don't mind us. However, you said you wanted to see the Dragon Monarch? Our dragon race has been cut off from the outside world for a long time. You have to give me a reason for the Dragon Monarch to meet you. Han Fei nodded slightly. Finally, he met a normal person. He said, because I'm his junior brother. Junior brother? Impossible, absolutely impossible. How can the Dragon Monarch have a junior brother like you? Are you lying? If the Dragon Monarch is your senior brother, who is your master? That's the Dragon Monarch. The strongest great monarch of our dragon race. Han Fei smiled. My name is Han Fei. I'm the current human emperor and also the strongest great monarch of the human race. As for our human race, we're one of the 6 ancient lineages. We're extraordinary in the first place, so our identity won't be bad anywhere. As for why the Dragon Monarch has me as his junior brother, I can't tell you that. A dragon said, you said that you are the strongest in the human race? But the human race seems to have declined a long time ago, right? Han Fei smiled. Now it's rising again. At this moment, more and more dragons surrounded him. Han Fei thought to himself, it's just tens of thousands of ominous creatures, but the distanceless gate still sent me to the ominous battlefield. Fine, I don't know How long it has been since the dragon race last saw an outsider. They are just like a bunch of curious babies. Finally, the white dragon said, you said that you know the dragon monarch. Do you know Fengyu? Han Fei's eyes lit up too. Of course I know her. Fengyu is my senior sister. I'm very familiar with the Phoenix divine race. However, the white dragon frowned. Your senior sister? Fengyu was only at the peak of the carefree level when she left the dragon race. You're already a great monarch. Is she your senior sister? Han Fei said, no one said that a junior brother can't be stronger than his senior sister. The white dragon thought about it seriously and seemed to think that Han Fei was alone. Even if he wasn't a good person, this was Dragon Valley. Even if a god came, he would have to be careful. A mere great monarch was indeed nothing. She said, you promised the distanceless gate to kill some ominous creatures. Then follow me. As for whether you can see the dragon monarch, I need to ask. The dragon monarch. Han Fei cupped his hands. Thank you. Hearing that Han Fei was going to fight the ominous, a large group of colorful giant dragons immediately followed him. Some dragons even followed him with a fruit that was thousands of kilometers long, as if they were watching a show. However, these dragons followed far away and didn't approach. Besides, Han Fei felt extremely slight fluctuations in the laws here. Something didn't seem right. Buzz. The white dragon that spoke to Han Fei transformed into the same size as Han Fei. She was dressed in a green and white dragon scale battle suit that outlined her voluptuous body. The two long white jade horns on her head were like natural jade hairpins, which were the most natural and beautiful decorations. She held a scale with mysterious patterns branded on it. Then, light bloomed and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Then, the dragon girl said, my name is Long Wan Wan. I've already told Master Dragon Monarch about you. I believe that since you dare to come, you won't dare to lie. Hey, are you from the Sea Realm? Han Fei nodded. How do you know it? Long Wan Wan said, although I've never been there, I still know the Sea Realm. Fengyu is from the Sea Realm. It's said that our dragon race once lived in the Sea Realm. But later, our dragon race was cursed and was forced to leave the Sea Realm. Cursed? Long Wan Wan asked, didn't you say that the dragon monarch is your senior brother? Didn't he tell you that our dragon race is a cursed race? Han Fei was stunned. Senior brother doesn't have to tell me everything. Han Fei looked around and said suspiciously, the dragon race is cursed, and you still have so many strong masters? With so many strong masters, you are enough to sweep across the Sea Realm and kill the person who planted the curse. Long Wan Wan chuckled. Sure enough, you don't know anything. The curse of our dragon race is unsolvable. It's said that the oldest dragon god went to the end of the Sea of Stars and his bloodline was contaminated in the battle with the ominous. Look, they are all holding big fruits. Do you know why? Han Fei said, to eat them. Does the curse have something to do with these fruits? Long Wan Wan didn't answer directly but asked, then do you know why we have to eat the fruits? Han Fei thought for a moment. In the monarch realm, eating was just a hobby. It didn't matter if the monarchs ate or not. However, since Long Wan Wan asked this question, there must be something wrong. Before Han Fei answered, Long Wan Wan said, stupid, because we'll be hungry if we don't eat. Hungry? Han Fei was stunned. He seemed to have heard something ridiculous. Monarchs will be hungry? No. Does the curse you mentioned make you hungry? Long Wanwan nodded. Of course. We'll be hungry if we don't eat. It seems that the dragon race migrated because we ate too much in the sea realm, and the sea realm couldn't afford to feed us. Fortunately, we found the giant demon star. See, there are huge demon plants and fruits here, so we can barely eat to our fill. Han Fei couldn't help being moved. This was the first time he had heard of such a curse that would make people hungry. This curse seemed to be a little vicious. Han Fei asked, "Will you starve to death if you don't eat?" Long Wanwan shook her head. "We won't starve to death, but we want to eat anything we see." There was a period of time in the history of the dragon race which was called the Bloodbath Era. It was a chaotic era when our dragons fought and ate each other's flesh and blood. It was simply terrifying. Han Fei's eyelids twitched. At this moment, the dragon scale in Long Wanwan's hand flickered. Long Wanwan scanned it with her perception and was immediately relieved. Then, she called out to all the dragons, "The dragon monarch has replied. Human Emperor Han Fei is indeed his junior brother. He told us not to be vigilant." Huff. Ha. When did the dragon monarch acknowledge a human junior brother? Is it actually true? I held myself back all the way to prepare for battle and didn't dare to speak. At this moment, a group of dragons rushed over and surrounded Han Fei and Long Wanwan. Han Fei was lost for words. So these dragons didn't speak along the way, because they were waiting for news and preparing to attack him at any time. At this moment, the misunderstanding was resolved, and a dragon immediately beckoned, "Han Fei, come and eat the fruits." A dragon beckoned, "Han Fei, do you have any meat on you? I'll exchange fruits with you." Han Fei thought for a moment and threw out a giant shark. There were always ingredients in his origin star, which was his habit. He didn't care if he ate it or not, because if he wanted to eat it, he could catch food at any time. However, these dragons ate fruits all day long and probably didn't see meat all year round. Therefore, without hesitation, he threw out a carefree level giant shark. Although he had collected ingredients, he didn't have many monarchs on him. This was what he had obtained when he first entered the monarch realm. Buzz. Instantly, thousands of dragons roared, "It's meat, it's meat." A dragon roared, "Han Fei, I'll give you a peach in exchange." A dragon knocked the dragon away with its tail. "Han Fei, I'll give you a dragon fruit in exchange." With that said, the dragon carried a dragon-patterned fruit more than 3,000 kilometers in diameter, which made Han Fei speechless. Han Fei looked at Long Wanwan, only to see that she was licking her lips and drooling. But Long Wanwan was a great monarch after all. With her firm will, she said with difficulty, "You shouldn't have taken out meat. The dragon valley only has fruits. Except for occasionally catching some star sea giant beast, we can't see meat. You have no idea how valuable meat is in our dragon race." Han Fei was dumbfounded and couldn't help but say, "That's not right. The dragon monarch knows that I'm best at cooking, but he never mentioned that he wants to eat meat." Long Wanwan rolled her eyes. "Of course. That's the dragon monarch. He has the firmest Dao heart in our dragon race. Not to mention that he doesn't eat meat. He doesn't even eat fruits often just to temper his Dao heart. Many of us have Tried, but we can't do it at all. After a moment of silence, Han Fei suddenly said, fellow Taoists of the dragon race, this little bit of meat might not be enough for you to share. How about me making it into jerky? Then each of you can have a taste. You don't have to envy each other. Dried meat? Then won't there be less meat? Han Fei smiled and said, even if the meat hasn't decreased, this giant shark is only so big. Each of you can only have a lick of it. Why don't you become my size and eat dried meat? Although it's not enough for you to eat to your fill, you can at least have a taste of it. Long Wanwan said, we eat meat in human form. Otherwise, the meat will be gone in only a few bites. Oh? Is that so? In that case, this giant shark seemed to be able to be eaten for a long time. However, Long Wanwan said, however, I want to eat jerky. A dragon said, dried meat is fine too. It's chewy. At this moment, these dragons didn't know the difference between the jerky Han Fei mentioned and the jerky they understood. Han Fei raised his hand, and hundreds of thousands of void blades cut off the giant shark in the blink of an eye, leaving only a skeleton without any flesh and blood. Han Fei raised his hands, and a gas barrier appeared in the void, like a huge pot. Han Fei summoned water into the pot with one hand, cut off the fish bones, and threw them into the pot to cook the fish bone soup. On the other side, the meat that had been cut into billions of pieces floated in the air. Han Fei took out buckets of meat oil, garlic, peppers, cumin, sweet and sour. Whoosh! The moment the meat oil was poured into the air pot, spiritual energy ignited below, and flames soared to the sky, spanning thousands of kilometers. Immediately afterward, countless garlic, peppers, and a mess of seasonings were poured into the pot. Immediately, an alluring fragrance spread throughout the place. Gulp! Gulp! Roar! Dragon roars rose from all directions, and countless dragons were about to go crazy. A dragon shouted, this meat hasn't been put into the pot yet. Why is it so fragrant? Han Fei, can I lick the black soup? A dragon had already approached him, only to be slapped away by Long Wanwan. Han Fei smiled. Everyone, that's not soup, but seasonings. This kind of simple stir-fried meat didn't require any skill at all. As long as the pot was big enough and there was enough seasonings, it was fine. Walala. When the billions of pieces of meat were put into the pot, stained with grease, the fire rose again, and the pillar of flames was tens of thousands of kilometers high. Many dragons rushed into the flames with a swish, sucking the tempting fragrance crazily, which made Han Fei speechless. Long Wanwan couldn't stand it anymore. She turned into a 10,000 kilometer-long dragon and sent the dragons flying with a few sweeps of her tail. Then, she shouted, what a disgrace. Don't you have a Tao heart? All of you, watch by the side. A dragon muttered, you're drooling. Bang! The dragon who spoke was sent flying too. Its body twisted in midair, and its saliva splashed everywhere. Han Fei thought to himself, it's too late now. The proud and dignified image of the dragon race has disappeared at this moment. Huff. Ha. When did the dragon monarch acknowledge a human junior brother? Is it actually true? I held myself back all the way to prepare for battle and didn't dare to speak. At this moment, a group of dragons rushed over and surrounded Han Fei and Long Wanwan. Han Fei was lost for words. So these dragons didn't speak along the way. Because they were waiting for news and preparing to attack him at any time. At this moment, the misunderstanding was resolved, and a dragon immediately beckoned, Han Fei, come and eat the fruits. A dragon beckoned, Han Fei, do you have any meat on you? I'll exchange fruits with you. Han Fei thought for a moment and threw out a giant shark. There were always ingredients in his origin star, which was his habit. He didn't care if he ate it or not, because if he wanted to eat it, he could catch food at any time. However, these dragons ate fruits all day long and probably didn't see meat all year round. Therefore, without hesitation, he threw out a carefree level giant shark. Although he had collected ingredients, he didn't have many monarchs on him. This was what he had obtained when he first entered the monarch realm. Buzz! Instantly, thousands of dragons roared, it's meat, it's meat. A dragon roared, Han Fei, I'll give you a peach in exchange. A dragon knocked the dragon away with its tail. Han Fei, I'll give you a dragon fruit in exchange. With that said, the dragon carried a dragon-patterned fruit more than 3,000 kilometers in diameter, which made Han Fei speechless. Han Fei looked at Long Wan Wan, only to see that she was licking her lips and drooling. But Long Wan Wan was a great monarch after all. With her firm will, she said with difficulty, you shouldn't have taken out meat. The dragon valley only has fruits. Except for occasionally catching some star sea giant beast, we can't see meat. You have no idea how valuable meat is in our dragon race. Han Fei was dumbfounded and couldn't help but say, that's not right. The dragon monarch knows that I'm best at cooking, but he never mentioned that he wants to eat meat. Long Wan Wan rolled her eyes. Of course. That's the dragon monarch. He has the firmest Dao heart in our dragon race. Not to mention that he doesn't eat meat. He doesn't even eat fruits often just to temper his Dao heart. Many of us have tried, but we can't do it at all. After a moment of silence, Han Fei suddenly said, fellow Taoists of the dragon race, this little bit of meat might not be enough for you to share. How about me making it into jerky? Then each of you can have a taste. You don't have to envy each other. Dried meat? Then won't there be less meat? Han Fei smiled and said, even if the meat hasn't decreased, this giant shark is only so big. Each of you can only have a lick of it. Why don't you become my size and eat dried meat? Although it's not enough for you to eat to your fill, you can at least have a taste of it. Long Wan Wan said, we eat meat in human form. Otherwise, the meat will be gone in only a few bites. Oh? Is that so? In that case, this giant shark seemed to be able to be eaten for a long time. However, Long Wan Wan said, however, I want to eat jerky. A dragon said, dried meat is fine too. It's chewy. At this moment, these dragons didn't know the difference between the jerky Han Fei mentioned and the jerky they understood. Han Fei raised his hand, and hundreds of thousands of void blades cut off the giant shark in the blink of an eye, leaving only a skeleton without any flesh and blood. Han Fei raised his hands, and a gas barrier appeared in the void, like a huge pot. Han Fei summoned water into the pot with one hand, cut off the fish bones, and threw them into the pot to cook the fish bone soup. On the other side, the meat that had been cut into billions of pieces floated in the air. Han Fei took out buckets of meat oil, garlic, peppers, cumin, sweet and sour. Whoosh! The moment the meat oil was poured into the air pot, spiritual energy ignited below, and flame soared to the sky, spanning thousands of kilometers. Immediately afterward, countless garlic, peppers, and a mess of seasonings were poured into the pot. Immediately, an alluring fragrance spread throughout the place. Gulp. Gulp. Roar. Dragon roars rose from all directions, and countless dragons were about to go crazy. A dragon shouted, "This meat hasn't been put into the pot yet. Why is it so fragrant? Han Fei, can I lick the black soup?" A dragon had already approached him, only to be slapped away by Long Wan Wan. Han Fei smiled. "Everyone, that's not soup, but seasonings." This kind of simple stir-fried meat didn't require any skill at all. As long as the pot was big enough and there was enough seasonings, it was fine. Walala. When the billions of pieces of meat were put into the pot, stained with grease, the fire rose again, and the pillar of flames was tens of thousands of kilometers high. Many dragons rushed into the flames with a swish, sucking the tempting fragrance crazily, which made Han Fei speechless. Long Wan Wan couldn't stand it anymore. She turned into a 10,000-kilometer-long dragon and sent the dragons flying with a few sweeps of her tail. Then, she shouted, "What a disgrace! Don't you have a Dao heart? All of you, watch by the side." A dragon muttered, "You're drooling." Bang! The dragon who spoke was sent flying too. Its body twisted in midair, and its saliva splashed everywhere. Han Fei thought to himself, "It's too late now. The proud and dignified image of the dragon race has disappeared at this moment." He couldn't help but understand why the dragon race had to migrate out of the sea realm. If they didn't migrate, the sea realm would probably be eaten up. Sizzle. Han Fei stirred the soup with a big void hand and added some ingredients to the fish soup. In the meat pot, the fragrance of meat wafted, and the meat juice enveloped every piece of meat. Han Fei activated the water technique, and the meat in the pot was quickly dried, turning into pieces of jerky stained with seasonings. Han Fei spread his hands. "It's done." Buzz. Tens of thousands of dragons turned into human forms. Someone was about to reach out to grab it when it was stopped by Long Wan Wan's glare. Long Wan Wan shouted, "There are many dragons in the front line, but there's only this much jerky. Don't snatch it. Anyone who sees it will get a share. Hurry up and divide it up. Otherwise, the dragons in the front line can't have a taste of it." With that, with a thought from Long Wan Wan, the jerky was divided into nearly 20,000 portions. As for the soup, it was also a pot of fish soup drink made by Han Fei. Han Fei cut the fish bones and let the marrow flow into the thick soup. Then, he stirred it. The golden marrow glittered in the soup pot, and in the blink of an eye, it was also divided into more than 20,000 portions. Munch. Munch. Someone took his share of jerky, and eagerly stuffed a piece of jerky into his mouth. Compared to the size of a human, the piece of jerky was actually not small. Hiss. "Is this meat? I've never eaten such delicious meat. Oh my God, Han Fei, why didn't you come to our dragon race earlier? I haven't had broth in a long time. It's delicious. This is bone soup, but it's indeed delicious. I didn't expect a bone to be used like this. Brother Han Fei, welcome to stay permanently in our dragon race." Even Long Wan Wan couldn't help but feel a little intoxicated when she chewed the jerky. Last time, Feng Yu secretly gave her some meat and she had long finished it. Even now, the aftertaste was still lingering. But compared to Han Fei's jerky today, she instantly forgot what the meat Feng You gave her tasted like. After chewing a piece of jerky, Long Wan Wan took out another piece and put away the rest. In the dragon race, meat was scarce. If there was an opportunity, she could just take it out occasionally to have a taste. It would be too extravagant to eat it all at once. Munch. Munch. The dragons, who were still immersed in the delicious taste of jerky and fish soup a moment ago, began to eat the fruit crazily, as if they wanted to suppress the taste of meat with the fruit. Han Fei couldn't help but click his tongue in wonder. This was also a way to temper their Dao hearts. Although these people claimed to want to eat meat, when they were really given meat, they mostly ate it piece by piece, and rarely ate 3 pieces of meat in a row. Han Fei thought to himself, if I solve the meat problem of the dragon race, I should be able to obtain the absolute friendship of the dragon race, right? However, although Han Fei had some thoughts at this moment, he couldn't mention it to Long Wan Wan. If he wanted to mention it, he should tell Senior Brother Azure Dragon. After a while, the tens of thousands of dragons turned from human beings into dragons. Long Wan Wan said, Han Fei, come up on me. Let's go to the dragon battlefield. Han Fei thought to himself, aren't we going there now? But it's easier to ride a dragon. Long Wan Wan didn't mind being used as a mount at all. Perhaps because they have been away from the myriad races for too long, they no longer have the concept of mounts. When Han Fei sat on Long Wan Wan's head, he heard continuous dragon roars. Long Wan Wan swam in the void and plunged into the void world. Swish! 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 When Han Fei discovered that all the dragons could enter the void world, he couldn't help but be shocked. Even in the sea realm, there weren't many people who could enter the void world. This required a certain level of mastery of the law of space. But now, all the dragons had this ability, which was a symbol of strength. As soon as she entered the void world, Long Wan Wan's strength finally erupted. As her body swayed, Han Fei saw that layers of space barriers were broken. This was not pure speed, but a more advanced use of the law of space. Han Fei looked calm on the surface, but his heart was greatly shocked. There were barriers in space. As long as one penetrated these barriers, they could cross a very long distance in a short period of time. This was like, these dragons drilled one wormhole after another in space. Yes, if Han Fei understood it right, they were constantly digging wormholes to achieve a speed exceeding 10,000 times the speed of light. Awesome! Han Fei sensed the state when Long Wan Wan entered the space barrier. She seemed to have turned herself into the law of space, or disguised herself as the law of space, so she wasn't rejected by space. When Long Wan Wan took Han Fei forward, Han Fei was also covered by the spatial law disguised by Long Wan Wan, so he could clearly feel that he was like a space being moved. However, this movement required a powerful physique. Han Fei estimated that ordinary great monarchs might not be able to do this. Ordinary peak level great monarchs might. And in his current state, he was probably at the peak of the extreme Dao great monarch realm, so he could naturally completely withstand this power. As they walked forward, Long Wan Wan said, your physique is very strong. You don't feel uncomfortable at all. When I took Feng Yu with me, I didn't dare to walk so fast. Han Fei smiled and said, if Feng Yu were a great monarch back then, it wouldn't have been a problem for her. 3322 Fierce Battle Against Doomsday-Level Ominous Creatures, 1. Long Wan Wan asked, where is she now? She said she would come again, but she Didn't come even when you came. Han Fei said, she's on the other side of the chaotic sea. The ominous has returned. The stronger she is, the greater the pressure. Roar. Long Wanwan roared, that's true. Recently, there have been more and more ominous giant beasts. The giant demon star sea has increased its soldiers 3 times in a row. Our batch has retreated from the front line to rest. Han Fei asked, is anyone from the Time Temple here to help? No. The Time Temple doesn't need to take action in the territory of our dragon race. Although their time resurrection technique is good, its sustainability is too poor. Our dragon race is different. Although there aren't many of us, we are very good at fighting. Swish. After about an hour, Han Fei finally came to the front-line battlefield of the dragon race. As soon as he appeared, Han Fei felt that the void was shaking with dragon roars. On the distant battlefield, millions of dragons were fighting. Han Fei saw with his own eyes that under the dragon breath of a dragon, several ominous creatures melted. Yes, not purified, but melted. Even the ominous aura melted away without a trace. Huh. Han Fei was surprised. The ominous can be melted? Long Wanwan said, the destruction dragon breath can destroy everything in the world. The ominous aura is just a kind of energy body, so it can be destroyed. Destruction dragon breath? Before Han Fei could ask further, he heard a dragon roar and a dragon's voice. Wanwan, why are you here? There are still 3 months before you rotate. Right? Long Wanwan roared in response, I brought the junior brother of the dragon monarch to observe the battlefield of our dragon race and warm up. Oh? The dragon monarch's junior brother? When did he have a junior brother? Huh? Which race is this strong master from? He looks very thin, but he is indeed a great monarch. For a moment, on the battlefield, many dragons turned around and looked in Long Wanwan's direction. When their eyes fell on Han Fei, their eyes were full of curiosity. However, their dragon faces were naturally dignified, so they all looked solemn and even fierce. Buzz. 1, 2, 3, 8 dragons broke through the space and appeared on the battlefield. Han Fei was shocked. There were so many gods. Yes, these 8 dragons were all gods. With the dragon might emitted from their bodies, they were like killing gods. Among them, there were 3 golden dragons, 2 green dragons, a white dragon, a black dragon, and a fire dragon. Han Fei smiled and cupped his hands. Greetings, seniors of the dragon race. One of the golden dragons said, the junior brother of the dragon monarch is the friend of our dragon race. Little friend Han Fei is very strong. You have reached the peak of the extreme Tao great monarch at such a young age. With this strength, you can look down on all the dragons even in our dragon race. The peak of the extreme Tao? Long Wanwan couldn't help but exclaim. Although she knew that Han Fei should be quite powerful, she didn't expect him to reach the peak of the extreme Tao directly. In the entire dragon race, there were very few people who could reach the peak of the extreme Tao. Even she was still a certain distance away from the peak of the extreme Tao. She would probably have to cultivate for tens of thousands of years to reach that level. Han Fei smiled. Senior, you flatter me. I see that the physique of the dragon race is astonishing. Extreme Tao cultivators should be very common in the dragon race. The black dragon said, extreme Tao cultivators are very common, but peak level extreme Tao ones are rare. There are even fewer people who have surpassed the extreme Tao. Little friend, you don't have to be modest. However, since he is a friend of the dragon monarch, why didn't you take him back to the dragon palace, but come to the dragon battlefield, Wan Wan? Han Fei immediately said, I'm here this time, with the help of the distanceless gate. I have an agreement with the distanceless gate. Every time I use it, I have to kill 50,000 ominous creatures as compensation. Oh? 50,000 ominous creatures? Ominous creatures in the same realm as you? Then I'm afraid you'll have to stay in our dragon race for at least thousands of years. Han Fei smiled. Of course not. I'll just kill whatever ominous creatures I meet, but most of them should be at the world-ending level. After all, the ominous creatures are not stupid. They won't send a large number of destruction-level ominous creatures to their deaths for nothing. Can the distanceless gate already deliver people? Doesn't that mean I can sneak to the sea realm and get some meat back? Han Fei was speechless. Did divine dragons like to eat meat too? Han Fei immediately said, Seniors, I think the distanceless gate only has this agreement with me. I'm afraid it's difficult for others to use it. Oh? It seems that little friend Han Fei is very special. He can actually win the favor of the distanceless gate. Han Fei thought to himself, the distanceless gate doesn't favor me, but the demon purification pot. The fire dragon said, Alright, don't think about using the distanceless gate anymore. We'll use it if we can. However, little friend Han Fei, even if it's the destruction-level ominous creatures, as long as there are enough of them, even a peak-level extreme Tao great monarch will be afraid of them. After all, although peak-level extreme Tao cultivators are strong and the ominous creatures may be no match for them, as long as they are contaminated by a large amount of ominous aura, they can still be seriously injured. Han Fei smiled. It's okay. It's just that if I take action, it may disrupt the order of the dragon battlefield to a certain extent. I'd like to apologize to you in advance. Change the order of the dragon battlefield? An azure dragon laughed out loud. Don't worry. It's just 50,000 ominous creatures. It won't disturb the order of the dragon battlefield. Han Fei didn't speak, but smiled. A golden dragon said, Since little friend Han Fei is here to kill ominous creatures, do you need the help of our dragon race? Han Fei shook his head. That's not necessary. Well, seniors, since you agree, I'll take my leave. Okay, little friend Han Fei. Which battlefield do you need? We'll ask the dragons on that battlefield to retreat for the time being. These divine dragons all knew how strong a peak-level extreme Tao great monarch was. It couldn't be said that he could resist an army of 100,000 alone, but it was not a problem for him to temporarily guard a territory. Long Wanwan said, Han Fei, I have a good place. There are many ominous creatures there, but their combat power is relatively weak. If you just want to fulfill the agreement, that place is a good choice. However, Han Fei pointed at the ominous mist at the front and said, I'll go there. Long Wanwan was speechless. That's the core battlefield of the dragon battlefield. A peak-level extreme Tao cultivator can't withstand such pressure. Han Fei chuckled. Although it's just an agreement, I'm the current human emperor after all. How can I just make do? Otherwise, when I face billions of ominous creatures in the future, I can't just hide behind others, right? An azure dragon said with a buzz, Little friend Han Fei, it's not that we don't trust your strength, but you are the junior brother of the dragon monarch after all. If anything happens to you on the battlefield of our dragon race, we won't be able to explain to the dragon monarch. It doesn't matter. At this moment, a divine sound suddenly came from the distant void. In the next moment, an azure dragon broke through the void and appeared here. Buzz. Who else could it be but Senior Brother Azure Dragon? Ah. Dragon Monarch, why are you here in person? Long Wanwan was surprised. She didn't expect the Dragon Monarch to stop cultivating for Han Fei. Han Fei was overjoyed. Greetings, Senior Brother Azure Dragon. The Azure Dragon nodded slightly, looked Han Fei up and down, and then patted Han Fei's shoulder heavily. I knew that your cultivation speed was extremely fast, but I didn't expect it to be so fast. The divine dragons were also a little surprised. The Dragon Monarch's attitude towards this person seemed to be unusual. Senior Brother Azure Dragon turned serious and nodded at the divine dragons. Uncles, you underestimate my little junior brother. If he wants to go to the core battlefield, let him. There's no need to stop him. 33-23 Fierce Battle Against Doomsday-Level Ominous Creatures, 1. Han Fei was a little surprised that Senior Brother Azure Dragon came in person. However, since his senior brother was here, wouldn't he be able to do whatever he wanted on this dragon battlefield? Han Fei said, Senior Brother Azure Dragon, I'll go finish the battle first. Swish. After Han Fei stepped in the air and left, a divine dragon asked, Dragon Monarch, you seem to believe this guy very much. Is there something special about him? Senior Brother Azure Dragon said solemnly, Uncles, patriarchs, just wait and see. Before a doomsday-level ominous creature appears, no ominous creatures here can shake my little junior brother. Huh? Although a peak-level extreme Dao cultivator can resist doomsday-level ominous creatures, he can't resist them for long. But from what you say, it seems that this guy is not an ordinary peak-level extreme Dao cultivator? Long Wanwan also asked, is the human race so strong? Senior Brother Azure Dragon said calmly, the human race is not strong now. But it's hard to say if they will be strong in the future. At this moment, a divine dragon looked at Long Wanwan. Wanwan, take it out. Huh? Take what? Heh, you're full of the fragrance of meat. Do you think we can't smell it? You little girl, it's one thing to secretly eat meat, but it's too much that you don't even share any with your elders. Long Wanwan's dragon whiskers drooped down. Is the fragrance of meat so strong? Long Wanwan turned into her human form and reluctantly took out some jerky. Uncle Masters, this is all I have. Little girl, don't lie. The fire dragon said majestically and seemed to be able to see through Long Wanwan's heart. Finally, Long Wanwan gave a handful of jerky to each of them and said, there is really not much left now. The divine dragons didn't dwell on it with Long Wanwan. They were just bored and wanted to have a taste. However, when the jerky entered their mouths, their expressions couldn't help but become strange. Did Han Fei give you this jerky? A divine dragon spoke, seeming very surprised. He had never eaten such delicious jerky. This time, before Long Wanwan could answer, Senior Brother Azure Dragon sighed slightly. Uncle Masters, in addition to being talented in cultivation, my junior brother is also extremely talented in culinary skills. I forgot to remind him never to cook for the dragon race. It seems that I'm still a step late. A golden dragon said, the dragon monarch. Sometimes, you don't have to be so harsh. It's not bad to get some meat from the sea realm occasionally. However, senior brother Azure Dragon shook his head firmly. Pure desire for food will only harm our Tao hearts. Hunger is the greatest tempering for the dragon race. Besides, once we start, the consequences will be unimaginable. Do you want the dragon race to experience another bloodbath era? Alas. Fine, you're the dragon monarch now. We'll listen to you. I hope this time we can destroy the ominous and remove the curse on our dragon race. The divine dragons all sighed slightly. It was so difficult to destroy the ominous and remove the curse. They had worked hard for this goal for their entire lives but had never achieved anything. It was impossible for the dragon race to achieve it alone. Look. As Long Wanwan shouted, everyone looked at the dragon battlefield. At this moment, Han Fei had already entered the core battlefield. On the dragon battlefield, the ominous creatures still came out of a large area of ominous mist. It seemed that they could only enter the sea realm in this way. And the so-called core battlefield was a battlefield surrounded by ominous mist on three sides. Here, there were as many as 30,000 powerful giant dragons. Although there were very few of them, they were all monarchs. Most of the dragons were fighting ominous giant beasts, not ordinary ominous creatures. As soon as Han Fei entered this place, he felt that the laws here were relatively chaotic. An inexplicable power was crazily destroying the laws in this void. Although the laws could self-condense and gather, under this destructive power, many battlefields couldn't be completely stable for a moment. As for the ominous giant beasts, they were powerful offensive ominous creatures. Han Fei could understand them as existences like the mountain giants. They had powerful strength and a richer ominous aura. Therefore, although they were world-ending level ominous creatures, their attacks were stronger than ordinary world-ending level ominous creatures. Of course, they also had a disadvantage, which was that their speed was relatively slow. A powerful attack required accumulation of power. However, this slowness was relative. After all, they were at the world-ending level. No matter how slow they were not something that the destruction level ominous creatures could compare to. Roar. When Han Fei entered the battlefield, countless giant dragons looked at him. Why is this outsider here? I saw that the dragon gods seemed to be quite friendly with him. He should be a guest, right? He must be a guest of another race. Even the dragon monarch is here. Could it be that the divine dragon and the dragon monarch want to see his strength? A dragon said, "Fellow Taoist, this place is dangerous. If you want to show your strength, you can stay back a little. We'll attract some ominous creatures over for you. Thank you for your kindness, but no need." However, as soon as the giant dragon said so, a divine dragon's voice sounded. Everyone on the core battlefield, retreat for the time being. What? Retreat? Why are we retreating? Are dragon gods planning to let in a wave of ominous creatures? That's not right. Why is that guest still moving forward? Han Fei's speed was very fast. He passed countless strong masters along the way until an ominous giant beast raised its huge claw and slapped over. That claw left darkness in the sea of stars and even caused a void storm. 33-24 Fierce battle against doomsday-level ominous creatures, too. However, Han Fei waved his hand, and a huge long knife formed by the law of life appeared in front of him. Han Fei pushed the long knife forward. Pfft! The long knife instantly pierced through the giant claw of the ominous beast. And then its body. The moment it passed the ominous beast, purifying flames burned on its body, and the infinite ominous aura was completely purified. Puff. 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 However, Han Fei's slash was not over. There were tens of thousands of ominous giant beasts here. Han Fei pushed his knife forward like a dragon or a snake, leaving a stream of light on the core battlefield. This blade rushed out and pierced through more than 20 ominous giant beasts in the blink of an eye. So powerful. The dragon powerhouses who were retreating but hadn't completely left the battlefield couldn't help but widen their eyes when they saw the scene. Han Fei's speed was extremely fast. For the ominous giant beasts that were relatively slow among world-ending level ominous creatures, they almost couldn't resist Han Fei's charge that was full of the power of purification. A dragon was shocked. That's not right. No matter how powerful his law of purification is, how can it completely burn this ominous aura? It shouldn't be. A dragon was puzzled. Some ominous creatures could barely suppress the power of purification, but why did they still die? In the distance, a divine dragon said, "Is this the law of life?" Senior brother Azure Dragon didn't speak. He didn't know that little junior brother had comprehended the law of life. However, this law seemed to be able to restrain ominous creatures. As soon as Han Fei attacked, the ominous creatures on the core battlefield realized that something was wrong. Although this human was tiny, his combat power was unimaginably strong. Even the destruction dragon breath of a peak-level extreme Dao dragon couldn't kill more than 20 world-ending level ominous beasts in an instant. How could the light of purification be so capable? When the dragons on the core battlefield retreated like a tide, Han Fei's figure became unusually conspicuous. The ominous giant beasts were the main combat power against the dragon race in the first place. In terms of size and combat power, the giant beasts actually had a slight advantage. But at this moment, with a guy who could instantly kill the ominous giant beasts, those ordinary world-ending level ominous creatures naturally rushed up immediately. Han Fei didn't reveal the demon purification pot, so these world-ending level ominous creatures were not afraid at all. This was because their growth was accompanied by swallowing and being swallowed. Although Han Fei was very strong, he was the only one left on the battlefield. If they were still afraid, the ominous creatures would have long been eliminated. A large number of destruction-level ominous creatures and a small number of world-ending level ominous creatures rushed over. In their opinion, it was just one enemy. How could he withstand their round of attacks? However, at this moment, Han Fei activated his origin Great Dao, and his combat power soared by 3 times. Around him, tens of thousands of life chains suddenly surged out of the void. Puff. 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 A large number of destruction-level ominous creatures were pierced by the sudden life chains before they could react. The ominous creatures were generally not afraid of the law chains, because not all the law chains could kill them. But this time, the world-ending level ominous creatures saw that none of the destruction-level ominous creatures that were pierced by the law chains could condense their ominous bodies again. They were killed in one blow. In the distance, the dragons that came with Long Wan Wan finally arrived. However, when they took a closer look, they were all dumbfounded. The small figure stood on the huge core battlefield. The chains around him stirred. After countless ominous creatures were pierced, they inexplicably burned and were completely purified without any chance to resist. Well, is fellow Taoist Han Fei so strong? Why did he rush into the core battlefield alone? Why did the dragons on the core battlefield retreat? On the other side, the eyes of the 8 divine dragons flickered. The fire dragon said, in addition to the law of life, this guy's secret technique is also very strong. If this guy can break the extreme Tao, he will have the power to shake gods. A golden dragon sighed. What a pity. If I'm not wrong, he seems to cultivate the supreme divine technique of the human race, right? The black dragon echoed, at first, I thought I was mistaken, but now it seems that it must be the supreme divine technique. Unfortunately, the peak of the great monarch realm is the end of this path. If he can break the restrictions of the extreme Tao, he can be comparable to a god, but even so, he is not too strong among gods. What a pity. Senior brother Azure Dragon said calmly, what if he breaks the limit of the supreme divine technique? Impossible. The divine dragons all shook their heads, and an Azure Dragon god said, since ancient times, we have never heard of anyone who can reach the end of the path of the supreme divine technique. The corners of the Azure Dragon's mouth curled up slightly. However, someone did achieve it back then, didn't he? For example, the creator of the supreme divine technique. The black dragon said, no one has witnessed the legend recorded in the chaotic era. Even the great dragon god has no records about this. Therefore, it's hard to say if this matter is true. The other golden dragon also said, there are also rumors that even the creator of the supreme divine technique failed to become a god. Therefore, the rumors are not credible. The Azure Dragon shook his head slightly. If there is anyone in this world who can clear the path of the supreme divine technique, I'm afraid it's only my little junior brother. Once this path is clear, there will be another several or even dozens of top powerhouses in the sea realm. 3325 Fierce Battle Against Doomsday-Level Ominous Creatures, 3. Long Wanwan looked at the divine dragon and then at the dragon monarch, dumbfounded, not knowing what they were talking about. In the field, Han Fei held the blood sky blade, and his body turned into lightning, flashing crazily here. The combat power of 300,000 was not something ordinary peak-level great monarchs, or even peak-level extreme Tao great monarchs, could compare to. The Tao of Slaughter God poured into the bodies of the surging world-ending level ominous creatures under the slash of the blood sky blade. The Ragnarok instantly annihilated their consciousness. The law of life cut off their vitality, and the fire of purification burned their ominous aura. A world-ending level ominous creature couldn't even withstand a single slash, and died on the spot. Puff, puff, puff. In just 100 seconds, Han Fei had killed nearly 1,000 ominous creatures. Even more than 30 world-ending level ominous creatures had died. This battle record stunned the dragons who had temporarily retreated from the battlefield. Long Wanwan and the other giant dragons couldn't help but feel that they were watching a monster. When Han Fei first came, they had thought of attacking him. However, seeing Han Fei's superb combat skills at this moment, they felt helpless. They even had the illusion that the legendary human race was all so strong. Han Fei's speed was getting faster and faster, and his attacks were even more elusive. In just half an hour, more than 30,000 ominous creatures above the destruction level were killed by Han Fei on the spot. In the distance, the retreating ominous beasts were attacking remotely and launching great monarch-level blows. However, most of those attacks were shattered by the rules of life halfway. The divine dragons who were worried about Han Fei were no longer worried at all. With such combat power, 50,000 ominous creatures were nothing to Han Fei. Finally, after nearly an hour, Han Fei's wanton killing finally attracted the attention of a stronger existence in the ominous mist. When a giant claw extended out of the ominous mist, dragon roars sounded on the dragon battlefield. A doomsday-level ominous creature is coming. Many dragons in the field were eager to try, but that battlefield belonged to Han Fei for the time being. Although they didn't know why the dragon monarch asked them to give up the battlefield for the time being, so far, Han Fei had performed extremely well. It could be said to be the most glorious battle in thousands of years. Many dragons looked at senior brother Azure Dragon and couldn't help but remember that when the dragon monarch rose, he seemed to have such a brilliant battle record too. He was fighting 3 doomsday-level ominous creatures alone without being at a disadvantage. Now, someone was going to fight a doomsday-level ominous creature alone again? However, could this person reproduce the glory of the dragon monarch in the past? Han Fei didn't mind fighting. He had been in seclusion for too long. Although only 100 years had passed in reality, it had been 100,000 years in his origin star. Although this was the time price he had to pay to swallow the refined stars, it had indeed been a long time since he tried his best to fight. The doomsday-level ominous creature roared and rushed out of the ominous mist. It said angrily, "What a good dragon. This guy already has the combat power of a god. How dare you let him onto the battlefield? Do you want to start a divine war?" This time, senior brother Azure Dragon said, "Humph. Open your eyes wide. Is this the god-level combat power?" When this doomsday-level ominous creature's claw completely extended out, the ominous creatures that were attacking Han Fei all stopped attacking, as if they were waiting for the doomsday-level ominous creature to attack. Immediately afterward, when the huge doomsday-level ominous creature popped its head out of the ominous mist, Han Fei saw a dark dragon head, followed by a dragon claw. It was clearly an ominous dragon. Han Fei couldn't help but look back at senior brother Azure Dragon, who said, "Ominous creatures have no form. They can transform into any kind of creature, as long as it's suitable for them to fight. And this is the battlefield of dragons. It's not strange for him to transform into an ominous black dragon." The corners of Han Fei's mouth twitched. He had thought that all ominous creatures looked the same. They had dark ghost-like heads, sharp teeth, and sharp claws. He didn't expect them to transform on the dragon battlefield. The ominous dragon that was more than 5,000 kilometers long seemed to be used to the fighting style of the dragon race. It opened its mouth and spewed a mouthful of dark dragon breath at Han Fei, which was actually an ominous aura that had been transformed into an attack power. Han Fei certainly wouldn't stand still and wait stupidly. With a bang, Han Fei turned into 10,000 lightning marks and took the initiative to rush at the doomsday-level ominous creature. However, in the next moment, he felt that space was imprisoned, and his position was forcibly teleported. The doomsday-level ominous creature tried to forcibly teleport Han Fei to the range of the dragon breath. A clash of laws? Last time he fought a doomsday-level ominous creature, it was more like a one-sided beating. Even if he used all his strength, he could only shake the doomsday-level monarch a little. But this time was different. Han Fei had already broken the peak of the extreme Tao. In terms of the power of laws, he was not weak either. The law of space was one of the first laws he fused. Bang! In the sea of stars, the space where Han Fei was shattered like glass. Han Fei activated lightning jumping and avoided the range of the dark dragon breath. Again. Furthermore, tens of thousands of life chains quickly swept towards the doomsday-level ominous creature. Can he actually break through the law shackles of a doomsday-level ominous creature? Many dragons exclaimed. After all, the control of laws in the great monarch realm couldn't compare to that of the gods. Therefore, in the great monarch realm, in many cases, the battle would eventually evolve into a head-on clash. However, it was rare for someone like Han Fei to forcibly break the other party's law power.